Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
See what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying? You don't want to miss this unique, informative audience participation, light-hearted show with lots and lots of Cayman jokes, culture, and guests. As we talk about things we say and do, it happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
See what I'm saying is a special feature of Talk Today, jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman, a language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See what I'm saying? Begins right now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Radio Cayman's Talk Today. Today it feels like Halloween in the studio. We just need to turn the lights off because we go in Duppie stories today. Duppie Part 2. Good afternoon to our listeners and our viewers on YouTube. This is Anita Khan. We've ousted Sterling Dwayne Ebanks for today. He's in the guest seat.
The co-pilot.
And we have on the other side of me, I have Mr. Ray Banker. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another See What I'm Saying, eh?
Oh, gosh. It's a pleasure to be in the studio and sitting in for King Sterling.
Got to tell you, we got better view than what we normally have. Better aesthetics.
Good afternoon to Susan on the other side. Susan killing herself with laugh, Susan.
And we're just waiting for our guest to come in, but we're
waiting for Anita Ebanks.
Yes.
And she's on her way. But in the meantime, thank you, Sterling, for letting me sit in this chair today. I feel like a queen. You see my hat, Susan? You see my cap?
You look like a queen.
Oh, well, thank you.
You are a queen.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, okay, I'll go through the door this afternoon. No, this is Duppie Part 2.
Yes.
We had Duppie Part 1 on July 15th.
Yes.
And if you missed it, you go to YouTube.
Yes.
Look up Radio Cayman Talk Today on that date, July 15th.
See
and
what
you'll
saying.
find See What's Saying.
Duppie
Part 1. So Duppie Part 2 today, I was looking this up because I didn't want to come in here empty-handed, empty brain. So
do you always say you got prep before you come to this show? You got to do homework and stuff.
I know. You just give me some documents here, boy. I wish I got time to read them before. But anyway.
He took it easy on you.
It's once you start studying folklore, you begin to notice the similarities between the differences between stories from different parts of the world.
Sure.
So are we going to just focus on Cayman today? Because
yes.
I got lots of zombie stories I want to tell you.
That's where we is. But we talked about it last time. We talked about the origins of the name. All cultures or through the ages have ghost stories or ghosts or what you would call
ghost stories.
Folklore, if you want to say, of ghosts. Right, so we're focusing on DUPPIES, which is the Afro-Caribbean word for ghosts and spirits, but malevolent spirits.
Mostly malevolent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bad guys.
Supernatural and things like that. Now, we're going to sort of I think what we're going to try to do is see that it's not just Caymanian.
Duppie.
Yeah, well, not just Caymanians experiencing Cayman, but we got at least two other experiences that are non-Caymanian that are in Cayman. So we're trying to figure out whether it's something to do with the island or what it is. But this time I'm also going to play the other side of it, possible reasons for the Duppie phenomena or the ghost phenomena. So you got like scientific reason that maybe there's ghosts occur, why ghosts occur, or scientific reasons maybe why people perceive ghosts.
So we're not going to just let them rest and...
Funny you should say that, rest. I brought that up the last time. Everybody say rest in peace. When you go on Facebook or somewhere where somebody has passed away, and everybody sort of uses the R.I.P., rest in peace, sleep in peace.
Mm-hmm.
What are they talking about there? You ever stop to think what they're talking about there?
Just don't get up and bother me.
Sleep in peace, yeah? So I want to think about that, yeah?
All right, I want to thank our sponsors this afternoon of Talk Today. Charlie, you sure you want me to sit over here?
Yeah, oh, yeah. I am.
He's like a little bit uncomfortable. Like I've never seen him like this before.
You're good over there?
I am. It is not.
This was your idea.
This is a training program.
This was his idea.
But we
This was
do
his idea.
need somebody just in case, Sterling can't get out his car, stuck like my mother did, got stuck
No,
in the car
no,
all
no.
of the
with the top down.
Kathy and Ray normally help out here too. So, yeah. So I don't be tricking
But this
me.
is good. This is good.
But
I like this.
halfway. But before we finish up, because
Yeah.
we have to finish up 2 o'clock.
Finish up already?
No, man.
Well, she's-
we got a shortened
Yeah,
session this time.
this afternoon. So, but before you wrap up today, Ray, I want you to you got enough time to think about this, right? How do you outwit a duppy that's chasing you? So,
Oh.
Trip the person in front of you.
But yeah, that's
so
pull them down and throw them.
and I have my own duppy story right here in Cayman.
Oh, you do?
I've got two, but I'm going to share one.
Wow,
I'll share both.
We've
Yeah.
heard there's actually a Radio Cayman. You got one of them stories? A Radio Cayman?
Yeah, we got a couple here. But they're good ones. They're good ones. They're good ones.
See Susan talking to one now?
No, because again, and it's not an earthquake. But we got our guest is outside, so maybe.
So
where
Ray,
do you think we should go now?
Okay, Duppy Part 2.
I want. We
Hold
need
on.
to play the
But
clip. We need to play.
Did any Duppies ever chase you?
I have. If you look at Duppy Part 1, I've got my Duppy story in there.
I missed that part because I was watching the.
You go
YouTube.
to the end.
Oh, I didn't get to the end.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing.
That's not a good thing, Khaled.
I
That's
didn't get to
not
the
a
end.
good thing that you
Sorry.
didn't.
It was a good thing I didn't get to the end.
Yeah, if
So-
you get to the end of it, last half an hour, I talk about my Duppy story,
Okay.
my personal Duppy story.
And
Welcome,
we have Miss
welcome.
Anita Ebanks. Good afternoon, Anita. She's just joining us.
Buenas tardes.
Thanks for joining us. So, like I said, we have a clip that we need to play, and that talks about Should we want to get into that? Let's get into that now. The clip that takes off takes off where we sort of left off with Caymanians' experiences with Duppies and stuff. Yeah, Miss Susan, we ready to do that? First clip. So it is Miss Marion Borden. She was born in 1922. And this takes place, or the other person that you would hear on the script is, I think, Miss, hold on ya. Oh, Miss Heather Borden. Oh, sorry, Miss Heather McLaughlin. And took place in 1999. And she's going to be talking about her Duppies experience, Miss Marion Borden.
Oh, yeah, in those days, a lot of people say that Duppies used to walk in at night. And some people was afraid. But I was afraid too.
Yes. So, but was it any special time that they would come, or just every night that they were afraid of
Duppies?
it? Yes.
And at night they would see them, they clean this Duppies at night.
Just near the graveyard, or anywhere?
No, anywhere else, anywhere.
Do you remember anybody telling you about seeing a duppy?
Well, my dear mother used to see people when they was going to die or after they died.
This is what they call a token, is it?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
One night she used to wash clothes and hang them on the wire, barbed wire. You know, that
Yes.
was fenced in like would be another person property, and then they would put barbed wire between them, you know. So now she washed clothes and she hung them on the barbed wire. And one night she went, it was just after dusk, wasn't so late in the night, but it was kind of dark. She went down there to pick up clothes, and she had my brother in the tub bathing him. So she went there to pick up the clothes. And when she came back, she came frightened. And she said she saw something She saw ghosts. And that got us scared too when we heard that, you know. And she said she saw a woman standing inside the fence with a white sheet thrown over her. And next day, our neighbor died. Our next day, our neighbor died, was our lady.
So
And my mother, anytime anybody was going to die, she saw them or she could tell you.
so she saw this
saw
female
it.
figure, and did
She
she
saw it.
realize it was her neighbor at the time, or it was only after
no,
she died?
didn't think it was her. But next day she died.
And that happened. That sort of thing happened to her quite often. Did
Yes, quite often.
And did that happen to a lot of people that had this ability, or whatever?
Yes, some people, a lot of people used to see ghosts.
Did your mother ever have one of those experiences where she knew who the person was, and she'd say, "Mr. So-and-so is going to die tomorrow because I saw him"?
She would have a feeling. Yeah, she would say that sometime if anybody was sick, you know. She would say, well, I think
He's not going to make it
not
because
going
I
to make
saw.
it. That's right.
And would it be always this sort of a ghost figure that she would see, or were there other sort of tokens that she might?
No, she would see the person. If the person was going to die, she would see them.
Did they ever think, because you lived near the graveyard, did you ever think that some of the people in the graveyard got up and walked about or anything?
No, well, I heard some people speaking about that in those days. Yes, they was say that the dead used to roam, but we said the dead can't come back because the dead knows nothing. But people claim that when you were wicked, if you was wicked and you died, that you would roam.
Oh, the wicked people would roam, but the good ones would rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And what do you remember hearing about any particular person that was supposed to have been wicked and roaming about?
No, I never heard anybody name, but that's what that's the phrase they had.
Were people afraid to go by that cemetery at night?
Some people was afraid to cross by.
So that was Miss Marion Barden, and I think she is from around Miss Dixie area. Would that, Miss Anita, would you know? Miss Marion Barden. I think she was talking about she was close to the graveyard. I think that's Dixie Cemetery. People know by Delworth gas station for those old timers like myself.
All right. Right.
So that like I said was continuing what we talked about DUPPIE 1, how a lot of Caymanians and we even talked about there's a book DUPPIES is written about Caymanian ghost experience and also mental telepathy and things like that, supernatural things happening on the island from the aspects of a visitor that lived within our community. And so I want to touch on a little bit of that more, a couple of visitors to the island. So just to sort of maybe bring in the aspect of maybe it's not just a Caymanian experience, it's people coming to this island and experiencing it, also whether it's something to do with the island itself or maybe we get into it, whether it's like a generalized belief, like it's a peer pressure type thing, with, that type of thing where might be get into explanations of DUPPIES or seeing DUPPIES.
Okay, Ray, we're going to take a break.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Anita, for joining us. And thanks again to Sterling for letting me sit in the hot seat today. Oh boy, it might be.
You sure you're saying thanks? That's thanks.
You might have to Duppie-size me before I go home. Thank you, Susan.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Education is knowing the best back-to-school specials are at Reflections. Step into savings with up to 50% off selected footwear brands. Buy one pair and get the second pair of back-to-school shoes at 25% off. Save 50% off on all U.S. Polo handbags and backpacks. Ladies, don't miss the amazing daily deals in the clearance section on special selected women's fashions. Keep it classic with Levi jeans in a wide variety of styles and sizes from 28 to 48. And for the freshest gear, check out the new stock of Nike, Puma, Adidas, Johnny Cotton, and more. The best back-to-school savings are at Reflections. Find them on Shedden Road beside the Mango Tree. Open daily from 9 a.m. till after dark.
We'll be the coolest kids in school.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
On the road again.
Boss, I broke down on the road, you know. The truck looked like an Optimus Prime barbecue.
In this heat, not surprised. But we need to get this cargo moving. Let's get the truck into Superior Auto pronto. When your trucks go down, Superior Auto is the team to get you back up. Reliable, quality trained technicians who value your time and aim to get your trucks back in service so you can continue to be of service to your customers. Specializing in complete Isuzu, Hino, and other models of delivery box trucks and its repairs, including computer diagnostics, mechanical, and body repair. Superior Auto, 525-9571 or 949-9570. Keep on trucking with Superior Auto.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from September 1st till September the 8th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited, whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointments today. That is 946-9020.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh. How would you describe WHA saying?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
WHA saying?
Yeah, that's what
you're listening to Talk Today. Anita in the hot seat for Sterling. Oh, it's WHA saying? Yeah, well, it's part of Talk Today. We do this once. We do this every third Friday in the month. Yeah. So today is that day. See what you're saying? Duppie Part 2. So, Ray, sometimes people see these things just like that. Daytime, nighttime, they see floating things, and, you know, I just share my experience, right?
Yeah,
right here in the building.
Work, huh?
Yeah.
In the day.
In the day, in the afternoon. I'm not going to tell you a lie. I saw the thing in the corner of my eye. It was a woman floating from the bathroom, red shirt, white pants, going up the stairs. I had Roy Budden here at the time. Roy, did you see anything? No.
You're bringing Roy into
Roy went up. He went up. It was only the two of us in the building. And I saw, it just floated up the stairs. And I sent poor Roy up the stairs to go check it out. And he came back and he said there was nobody in the building upstairs. And
did he leave very quickly after that himself?
I think so. But I was right behind him. Now, this is something we don't attached to any kind of scientific, reasoning. What was your research on this, Ray? What you came up with?
Well, like I said, I want to sort of end with that, but I had scientific reasons for possibly, you could, that mirrors a duppie. it's called out of body experience, and it's a dissociative disorder, and it mimics some of the similar things to for being a duppie, and this is what people who had that experience describe it as a feeling of floating outside your body, an altered perception of the world, such as looking down from a height and a feeling that you're looking down at yourself from above. A sense of what's happening is real. And so the medical community calls that a dissociative disorder. And these people, like I said, some of it happened who had a near-death experience. And it's, and like I said, it's experience that that they leave their physical body. There's a I mean, we could talk to it about a soul or a spirit or something like that. And I don't know that the medical community has addressed that, like whether you have a soul, whether the consciousness is a soul, you know, whether that can actually leave your body or not. But touching up on what we had, what Nasaria had brought up on the last show, the African culture has in it that everyone has two souls. One stays with the body and one travels off, like whether that's just after death or something like that. So I'm not here to say that I have all the answers. I'm just here to don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to say, like, what about this and what about this, and you know.
Is that where 9 days after they have to keep a thing?
Yes, that came up. Yeah, 9 days, and then for Cayman we had a 3 day. We had a 3 day that you couldn't go outside the house. I think after somebody was born. Have you come across that, Miss Anita?
Yes, that's in DUPPIES Institute.
Yeah,
talking about that.
So whether that's amalgamation of both cultures or what?
But that's more efficient.
3 days. The 9 days is a little bit too much for you. You weren't that important.
Quick time, boy. Let's get on.
So now, whether, like I said, I've got some points that could address the DUPPIE side of it, like a possibility that it is a possibility of it. And then I've got some other causes that I knew beforehand could cause people perception of seeing a spirit or duppie or certain supernatural things. But like what we want to get out of the way first is the experiences of, like, it's not just Caymanians, crazy Caymanians here that seeing these type of things, that it's or whether it is something to do with the island, because there is there's some, when you get into the scientific parts of it, there is a possibility that some of it could be site related. If we think of the ocean waves constantly going, there's a scientific explanation for, or possibility scientific explanation of sounds, certain sounds, frequency of sounds causing perception distortion. Yeah. So
you're taking the fright out of this, right?
Yeah, well, see, that was a part of it. The other one was the folklore, and this one was possible scientific thing. And then after that, you're left with what do you decide? What's your thing of it? What's your point of view?
But that's food for thought, though.
Yeah,
it's not something, to do both. We don't sit down every day and think about duppies.
No.
Right, Miss Anita?
No.
Speak for yourself.
We've had some bosses that year. I'm sure it weren't from this world.
But I mean, I had my. Can I share for a couple of minutes?
Sure, go ahead.
I got a couple minutes to share. I used to live in an old house on South Church Street.
Mm-hmm.
You all know the house, Miss Vita Marin House. I mean,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's right across from McCoy Villa.
Mm-hmm.
I lived there for 9 years.
But that's also close to a bar, isn't it? Or wasn't it?
Yeah. Hello. No. I mean,
I'm messing with you. Go ahead.
Mess with me all you want, but this is my story, and I didn't know where to do research on this, but. There's one room in the house, a bedroom, right? The main, which I consider the main bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I slept. And one night, and there's 2 bedrooms, right? And there's an adjoining bathroom. So the bathroom works for both,
Sure.
rooms. And one night I saw this husband and wife. I'm assuming they're husband and wife. A man and a woman. Tall man, dressed in black and white, suit, white shirt. The woman, I can't remember, she was like in a white or something. She didn't the focus wasn't on her, the dream or whatever. It was a dream, and they were coming out of the bathroom into the bedroom towards me. Now, I'm one of those people who sleep with a Bible next to me, okay? I'm sorry.
Bible and a machete?
No. No, I sleep
You
with my
don't
Bible
forget the
next to me.
machete, you know.
But it happened that, it so happened, apparently the Bible fell to the ground.
Wow.
So I'm dreaming, and these people are walking towards me, and I'm reaching for my Bible in my sleep. Bible's not there. So I'm reaching for the next thing, the light, and these people are coming towards me. And I had that twice. That occurred twice. So I took it to my boss at the time, Miss Cecile Panton, and Cecile said to me, she said, maybe it's an old house, and they have money buried under the floor. I'm like, if I knew money was under there, I'll get to it first. But she said,
next day, jackhammer sounds.
Maybe. I mean, they're old. It's an older house, right? So, I mean, do you have any kind of...
There is a custom, I got to say, Miss Anita brought me up on this, the custom of putting money inside your house. There's, I think, John Doak, people like that, restoring old houses, keep finding coins and stuff in the corners of houses.
Well, there wasn't any bank around then, so of course.
But
and have it near you.
But it wasn't. I don't think it was that. They said they kept finding like little coins. It wasn't like a great windfall. Fall. It was just more like a little token type of thing that they were saying.
Yeah.
And I took that to another level. So I put money actually in my in the foundation of my house. So I'll always have money. Even if I'm broke, I know that I got at least
coming to your house.
$2.75 and change or something like that inside
there are some
the
cultures
foundation.
where they'll do that. They'll put money into the construction because it's a symbolism of wealth. It's that belief system. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm interested in Anita's stories because she shared with us before. Have you always had those encounters, or only since you've been in Cayman?
Can I ask?
Only
wasn't clear
since I've been in Cayman.
Yeah, and it wasn't clear to me whether it was a
the
dream or like a wakened.
It was like between the two, like a dream, and it was actually happening because the first day I came to Cayman, it happened to me.
Wow.
First day, and I shared it with Miss Norma, and we had a laugh over
that
it. That
goes right into where I wanted.
This one is when I came to the island. I arrived here midday, and I fell asleep. This was my sister-in-law's house. We weren't married then, but sister-in-law's house at the time. Ladna and Donnie. This was Donnie's house, and this is off behind Robbie Cribb's place there. And I fell asleep, and the same thing happened. I dreamed this short woman in a hat coming towards me, and I started to reach for the light, but it was still between 6. It was 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I made
you have these day ones. How come you have the day one?
Day one, right? It was a welcome. So she kept coming towards me, and then she actually got to me, and she started choking me.
Oh dear.
And I couldn't get to the light, and I started eventually, because it's a new place up my first day. So I eventually got a light, turned on the light. But after, I didn't share with anybody until long after I heard, Donnie and Lana talking about, the place haunted and all that. And then I told them, and so I asked them what his mother looked like. She's a short woman, and she used to wear a hat.
Oh my God! So, see that goes directly into one clip that I have there too. But before I didn't do a little housekeeping. Sorry, this get out of vein the thing. But the listeners out there, because I know you're out there. If you have any stories similar to what she, Miss Khan just shared with us, if you can call in and tell us about it, or if you heard any first-hand stories like that, say your relative, something that the details and stuff, please call in, and don't be afraid to call in and share what we're talking about, the story. That is true. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
I love
this bar.
Come on out this Friday night, August 19th, to South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers for the 4th annual Cayman Night. Live entertainment will be by a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band. You don't want to miss this exciting fete, playing soca, calypso, merengue, country, soul, and reggae music live with a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band and DJ Archie from Unit Force Disco. Admission is by donations at the door. Music starts 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. this Friday, August 19th at South Coast Bar and Grill. Proceeds will be donated to all primary schools to assist with the purchase of musical instruments.
JN Money, money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money. JN Money, I can send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use a money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
The Department of Agriculture would like to advise the community that their warehouse, sales office, and plant nursery on Agricola Drive in Lower Valley will now be open 6 days per week, Monday to Friday, 8:15 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For more information, call 947-3090 or visit their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman.
See What I'm Saying is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See what I'm saying?
8 minutes until 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. See What You're Saying. Duppie Part 2. Ray Banker in the house, Miss Anita Ebanks, and our guest, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is Anita keeping you company.
We got two Anitas, so we got to be careful. So you just shared a visitor story, which is, and then another one that you said you don't want to do. So how would you sort of summarize that whole thing?
I think it was just the house, because that house and the other one, I've never had it, I've never had an experience again. Hopefully not.
Just got to stay in new houses then, or what?
Yeah. It wasn't something that, I mean, I never sharing this publicly is heavy for me,
See, I hope other people, I think we've got one or two texts or something that people are trying to share their stories. But like I said, it's a touchy subject because people, well, first of all, the experience that they had is kind of traumatized in itself. I know mine was, as I told it, my hair was still, I don't know what kind of effects you had, but I know when I was telling it, my hair was standing up in the back of my neck and my arms and stuff. I was still getting the thing. And the clip that we have coming up too, you can get that too. But it was funny that you would say, and it touched on what I was saying about it's not just necessarily Caymanians, it might be even the place, the Cayman, the physical place of Cayman. And so I want to touch on this one. I'm going to read this whole section. Hopefully it's not so incoherent. And it was in the Caymania, November 1st, 1972. And a Miss Doe Bonafide. I don't know if people remember that name. Bought a new houseboat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, Miss Khan is
no, I came in 80.
Is lost.
I came in 80, so
yeah,
that's before my time.
Maybe it was that same person that was out. Welcoming in you. Okay, so she's a visitor to the island, right? Or she ended up living here for a long time, and one of the people, type of people that adopted Cayman. She still stays in touch with it, and I came across this actually on Facebook, Old Cayman, which has thousands of Caymanians and visitors that are people that live connections with Cayman. She said, okay, I must admit I laughed and scoffed at the idea and such thing as a supernatural being during my first weeks in the greenhouse. And I quizzed her on the greenhouse, and that is the house, maybe you can help me, greenhouse in West Bay, by West Bay Cemetery. Hold on, I'll tell you. I can get and tell you what she said, whose house it was later. As a matter of fact, I now realize that I was a rude intruder upon my neighbors, which they tolerated as long as they decently could. One night, while lying in my bed, a committee of 3 DUPPIES, I don't know if they're the same ones, Miss Khan.
I wonder.
3 DUPPIES came and sat on my chest. Their weight was unbearable. I couldn't breathe, and I knew that I was almost gone. I begged for mercy. They severely reprimanded me for what I was been doing and made me give a solemn promise that I would never again ridicule the spirits of the sacred departed souls. After that, my DUPPIE friends came to play a few tricks on me. In fact, our entire stay, the huge chandelier above the dining room table performed antics that baffled the whole family, and 2 electricians. As well, the light would go off and on, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. This persisted in spite of a complete rewiring, including a new wall switch. For all I know, it might have been playing tricks on the greenhouse. I rather presume not. However, I was sincerely upset that this one had done as a constant reminder for me to remember my promise to the DUPPIES. A very unsuccessful reminder as far as I was concerned. One night, a very beautiful young lady came to visit. She slid into bed alongside with me without saying a word. She pushed her very cold body against me, forcing me to move to the edge of the bed. I tried to scream, but I couldn't. As I was about to fall off my bed, I managed to touch my husband and barely whisper, "Help me." She immediately left my bed and walked out the door. To this day, I have never seen her again. Now, I'd like to tell you some of the things I would learn from DUPPIES. In most cases, DUPPIES seldomly reappear. All the Cayman DUPPIES I have known have presented themselves for a special purpose, which is in every case has been a good purpose. They usually try to direct my loved ones to or to warn them of an impending danger. Now, the article kind of goes on, and it starts to talk about if you want to experience DUPPIES, you come to the Boathouse restaurant in Bodvenue and stuff like that. So I messaged her on Facebook, and she was saying, yeah, the like 3/4 of it was an ad for the restaurant, but she said all the experiences and stuff that was her true recollection. So whether we have or we used to have, or up until, let me see when she said it was, like up until 2000 something, we have a DUPPIE welcoming committee or something.
Well, I think I was welcomed by one. It was okay. I mean, I wasn't scared of
And
that.
so what was similar to this? Like, so you had...
It felt like a welcoming, it's like,
Welcome to the island.
This is a strange person. What are you doing here? What, choke the heck out of you?
Fresh meat.
Fresh meat for real.
Or maybe they were trying to wake you up.
Oh, that too. Make it, to see who this person is. But
and then that heavy thing on the chest. Did you have that, or that was that was the other story that you?
Yeah, that was the other story. But in that same house, actually, it's now pulled down, and I don't think there's anything there. It's just a piece of land. The one with the first time. But the thing about that is that I saw floating things in that same house, but I didn't think about it. I'm sitting there watching TV and this thing floats from one room to the next, and I just put my head down and went downstairs. Never got back up. Never went back up there again. Well, I mean, I just think, well, okay, maybe I have the spirit of discernment. You think? Is that a Christian way to put it?
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Guyana. So we have Jumbies, Old Haig, Baku. Baku is the...
So did you have experiences with any of those? I mean, those are just another name for ghost or
the only experience I had was when I was younger, maybe about 12 or 11. In Guyana we have your houses on stilts. So you have a front step and a back step. So my mom woke up the morning, and on the front steps they had like a pair of paws, what do you call them, paws, and with blood. So blood paws going up to the footprint, but just the two, but not four, just two going up to the front door. And then there's nothing in the house because the door is closed. And the back step, you'll see two going down the back. And we're late for the news. So think about what you want to think about that. But we're going to take the news. Thank you, Susan.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Government will be holding a COVID-19 community update press briefing at 2 p.m. today. Premier Honourable Wayne Panton, along with Minister for Health and Wellness and Home Affairs, Honourable Sabrina Turner, Minister for Tourism and Transport, Honourable Kenneth Bryan, Interim Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ottilia Newton will be in attendance. They'll be discussing the latest changes to the COVID-19 regulations and public health updates. Make sure to keep it locked right here on Radio Cayman as we carry the briefing live. In international news, U.S. President Joe Biden will host a White House summit next month aimed at combating a spate of hate-fueled violence in the U.S. as he works to deliver on his campaign pledge to heal the soul of the nation. The White House announced Friday that Biden will host the United We Stand summit on September 15th, highlighting the corrosive effects of violence on public safety and democracy. Advocates pushed Biden to hold the event after 10 black people were killed at a Buffalo, New York supermarket in May, aiming as well to address a succession of hate-driven violence in cities including El Paso, Texas, Pittsburgh, and Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Apple disclosed serious security vulnerabilities for iPhones, iPads, and Macs that could potentially allow attackers to take complete control of these devices. Apple released 2 security reports about the issue on Wednesday, although they didn't receive wide attention outside of tech publications. Apple's explanation of the vulnerability means a hacker could get full admin access to the device. Apple did not say in the reports how, where, or by whom the vulnerabilities were discovered. In all cases, it cited an anonymous researcher. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location, ValueMed on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Beyond Basics Medical, leaders in laser and skin care of the Cayman Islands, providing advanced technology in skin, body, and hair, offering laser hair removal, vaginal tightening, threading, laser wrinkle reduction, hair loss restoration, hydrofacials, body and face slimming, vein therapy, laser tone correction, microneedling, high-frequency dermaplaning, medical peels, chirotherapy, skin tag wart removal, and laser scar revision. Long-term and significant transformations and results for multiple concerns starts with acting Beyond Basics Medical. Call us at 916-SKIN. Visit us on the 3rd floor of the Tomlinson Building above Tomlinson Furniture, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond Basics Laser.
Find out about all the community happenings from non-profit, community fundraisers, church events, and more with Radio Cayman's Community Bulletin Board 3 times daily. Don't be the one to miss out on the latest information for events taking place every day on all 3 islands. Radio Cayman's Bulletin Board, brought to you by UCCI. Visit www.ucci.edu.ky. Choose your dream and blaze your trail today.
And by GNC, conveniently located in Queens Court, 7 Mile Beach, and Country Corner. GNC, more than sports, all fitness, mind and body.
Welcome back to See What You're Saying, Duppie Part 2. See What I'm Saying, Duppie Part 2.
Can I put in saying that, hold on, I'll read that stuff that I had just read. Sure. The greenhouse that was referred in the passage that I just read was Mr. Fletcher's Lime House, which was next to the West Bay Cemetery. So if anybody know about that, if you can give me a call, give us a call.
Well, speaking of calls, we got Mr. Paul, Captain Paul on the line. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you guys. How is everybody today?
Good afternoon, CP.
Good afternoon.
I didn't intend to call in, but the last caller triggered a little memory I had. The house that she's talking about, it used to be I don't know what the name of that tree. We used to call it the duppie tree. It always had a load of spiders in it.
Spider?
That's going back a long time, something odd years ago. Wow. It was a big tree. I don't know it. Never did know the name of it. Because all we used to call it was the duppie tree. People were afraid to pass it. So what she's saying, it triggered a little memory of me.
Oh, I need counseling after this program.
You're going to need some extra sleep aids tonight is what you're going to need.
So that particular spot then, or the house, was very haunted?
It could have been. No, it wasn't in a house there at that time. It wasn't in a house. Cause I remember when they put that little house there. But it was no house in that particular place. It just... the closest house on that same side was Clayton Marion's house.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no houses on that side of the road that I'm talking about.
Wow.
Captain Paul, that whole section, probably that whole part of South Church Street, probably has a lot of history.
That's them South Sounders, you know.
Yeah, can you recall some of that for us?
Yeah, I can go a lot of it. I understand diverting from this now. That some controversy going about this stone wall that they removed a couple of days ago. I didn't know anything about it.
No, yeah, I just heard about it too.
But that wall ran right from the up here and across Walker Road right down. South Church Street, it went right through to Georgetown, right down past Dr. Roy House and all those places there. I remember that very clearly because I was born down there between Smith-Barcadere, I call it Smith-Barcadere down, and the little old house down there, and it was 6 big, huge stones. It was 6. We used to call them the Devil's Table. Why they were called that, I don't know. But they were square. It was about 4 or 5 feet long, about 3 feet
And they were natural stones, or they were kind of man-made or man-hewn?
Oh, no, they were stone. They were real rocks. Rocks. It was 5 feet, about 5 feet long, 3 feet wide, and about 2.5, about 3 feet high too. It was sick. They were there for a long. I was not home when they widened the road, so they just removed them. But it was so much history.
Yeah. And being removed too.
Yeah, we've probably lost so much history with a lot of even some of our early development that we think is necessary, like roads. Uncle Paul or Captain Paul. Yes, when we were talking about that, I was wondering if a lot of those the old stone walls might be old boundary lines of some of the first land grants that were given back in Cayman back in 1741 or whatever, because that area that you're talking about from where did you say it was, and then into Georgetown.
Said Walker's Road for sure.
That was one of the land grant areas for Foster, one of the land grant people, Foster. So I had a question. I was trying to remember that somehow when people built a house, there was something with the step that you had to step over. Was it anything with steps and DUPPIES or ghost or whatever in terms of building any of those older houses?
Not that I know anything about. What I'm saying about this tree with all of this cobweb, we call it, and it was, and people were afraid to go across it. The same as Smith Market there. One person got drowned there, and everybody was afraid to go to pass it. I used to escort a lot of people past that when I was a child because everybody was afraid to pass it. Thought it was a ghost or something.
Okay.
And I think I must. I don't want to.
But before I go, Captain Paul, back to those stones that you were talking about. I couldn't get a sense. You said they were natural.
Yes, they were natural.
Okay.
They were shaped. They were square. It was square. They were. It was. It must have been a big stone because they were big. They were all square and professionally made.
Okay. So it was man-hewn. It was work then. But it wasn't left over like anything from the like say the phosphate mining thing or anything. It was for. You think it was for a structure?
No, I have no idea where they come from, but I know they had to be shaped that kind of way.
Okay.
It was man-made, shaped up. It was natural. It didn't come from nature. It was all shaped. There was various. It was. I said it was about 4 to 5 feet long, 6 feet, 3 feet wide, and 2.5 feet high.
And that was a good size.
Yeah, they were big stones that we called
Devil's Table.
So some called them the Devil's Table. That's how we refer.
And how many were there? 3.
It was about 5, 6 or 7, something like that.
Okay.
That sounds like whatever happened. I understand when it was widening the road because the road was very narrow and 2 cars couldn't pass. It wasn't many cars then. It was a horse and buggy.
And where? What kind of? Where you said would it be now? What's the landmark now?
It's right. The heart. Right by that old house by Sir Russell Johnson's house. Yes, that old house you see right next to on the same side.
The Hines, is that the one?
Yeah, it was.
That's Walker's Road.
Yeah, on the main road, Church Street. It's right. not far from Smith Back there.
Okay. Okay.
About 100 feet from the Smith Back there.
Okay.
On the land side, it was on the land side.
Oh, was that then near Webster's Estates then?
It wasn't.
Yeah, because then that road, I remember at one time when they were building that road, it used to nearly have like a little mountain. We used to love to ride our bikes and just go down fast. So yeah, so it was in that area.
Yes, right in front of our old house.
Okay.
That's up from Smith Back there.
Captain Paul, any other question for Captain Paul?
No,
Yeah, do you have any? You had any duppy stories? Any personal experiences?
No, not really.
Come on now, you can tell us.
I can't remember if I did.
Don't be afraid.
That tree, when she talked about that tree, that place, that triggers my memory right away because I can visualize that tree right now.
And you said it had like cobweb type things on it. Was that natural or was there actual spiders inside of it?
It was spiders inside of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we used to call it, a spider tree.
Okay.
Okay, that was a good one.
Captain Paul, thanks for the recollection. Thank you so much. So, Ray, how about you? Do you have we haven't any jumbie stories or duppy stories from you?
My story. You have to go look for the YouTube thing.
So you're not going to recap.
I don't want to recap it. I tell you, I got a picture. I drew a little picture of the guy.
How about you, Anita? Any duppy stories, experiences?
No, other than
just you told me.
Other than just hearing. I mean, we lived in our great grandmother's house after we came back from the States, and our grandaunt then lived just like a stone's throw away in another little cottage. And then some nights, if my mother went to like a political meeting back then that Mr. Orman Panton was having way back then and didn't take us, we would stay in the old house or we'd go across to our Aunt Lily's. And if her sisters were there, they would tell us a lot of the stories that I hear and, read in DUPPIES.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be so scared just to go that short distance back to the, old house. And then sometime we would hear sounds or people knocking, on the door. So we weren't sure whether it was, because we were like the only girls in that neighborhood really, whether the boys that used to tease us during the day that lived in the area,
and
whether they were doing
that is
things.
a factor. I mean, my uncle who left and was staying in Mississippi, he's passed now. He was talking about how they used to take a house and run around the house a couple of times with the fishing line, and they would rosin it, so they would make a noise.
Well, I think they would throw it nearly over the top of the roof
they said
and ping it.
Well, they said they tied the whole house up, so you couldn't open the windows or the doors. So doing stuff like that, and then fooling with the thing to make a sound and stuff. So I could see that. You got to rule that out.
But where we lived, there was like a floor. It looked like the wattle and daub on the
a foundation
roof.
From another.
That the walls. But this must have been quite a house to be left this floor that was made out of wattle and daub, and it had been finished. So, I mean, because the Hurlstons had been in that area for a long time, so it had to be some people before then. We were told that it was Dagon's house that used to be there, and that, if we didn't watch ourselves, we could be haunted by him.
And this is the same, if we can say, the alleged German spy, the Dagon, is that?
No, this was...
This a different person?
It's a different person.
We got more than one Dagon? Okay.
This is way back before, the Hurlstons were in this area where the bushes are.
That's
it was the remnants.
Yeah, and you got to tell us that fever story.
We have a call on the line, Miss Anita. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon to your guest there.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You guys, what I was talking about duppies, because I had a granduncle that said if you talk about duppies after 12 o'clock in the day, it was hot at night time, so you watch it.
He got Sterling on his sides.
And what they're talking about so much duppies, they'll all come out about 12 o'clock. They'll be rambling all over the place, and I wonder where they come from. I'm going to call them out.
I know. Well, it was mostly Miss Anita Khan that was talking about him, so that should be all right.
I'm a duppy magnet. I'm a duppy magnet.
Do you have a duppy story?
Send it to banker.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll rebuke and send it to banker. Make it go out banker. Then he's the one talking about it. He's the one brought up the subject. I remember as a child growing up, my uncle told us that there was a gentleman driving around selling ice cream and ice cream man,
Mm-hmm.
And what they did as children, children will always be children. They tied a handbag with a piece of plastic line by the side of the road, and then they tied the plastic line to the fence so they could jerk it. When the guy they had the handbag fully loaded but full of rocks. So when the guy went to go pick up the bag, and he grabbed the bag, they jerked it, he tore off running, he said, "Lord God, the dapper chased me."
All of that stuff, the human element.
Yeah, well, it was any real to it, but that's what they said. And he said the man thought it was a dapper chasing him all the while, but they had jerked the handbag. They jerked it out his hand, they didn't see nobody, so he thought it was a dapper.
Yeah, I believe the dapper got blamed for a lot of things.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks for that.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Thanks for calling. If you're just joining us, this is See What You're Saying, Duppy Part 2. Ray Banker is in the hot seat today. We've overthrown Sterling, and we have Miss Anita Ebanks in the studio. Ray, so there's a scientific side to this, you say, right?
Yes. I'm going to close with that.
But before we close it out, I got something. I asked you earlier to think about it. How do you outwit a duppy?
Oh, well,
that's chasing you.
Like I said, went to the archive, and the member bank that Miss Anita, I think, helped establish, is a very valuable resource. Every time that I do any of these radio topics, I go straight to them to see what they have, and indefinitely they would always have a hit on the topic that I'm looking for, and the duppy topic comes up at least 50 times. There's 50 hits or 50 interviews with on the duppy topic. So that tells you how prevalent it is in our culture. And some of the things, the remedies, they had tons of remedies. I can't remember them all. And that's the thing too. Nasaria had brought up some remedies from different cultures, and a lot of them some of them are similar, same vein. She talked about walking backwards into your house. I think we talked about in Nicaragua, maybe it's a Latin American, Caribbean, Latin aspect of you cover mirrors with cloth and stuff like that. And
how about rice green?
Well, that's what I was getting to. We definitely have a thing about duppies would be confused with counting. And Nasaria talked about it, and we put marks in the ground or something like that. Duppies have to count them. We'll get distracted and count them. But corn greens, apparently greens are corn, and this was people walking along South Sound. They always had to have them in their pocket, and if anything happened, they would drop them all along, and that would apparently confuse a duppy. So greens of whatever.
But isn't it funny
Salt,
how
sand green.
Yeah. But isn't it funny how duppies, history, historical houses, it's all interconnected.
And cultures, different cultures.
Let me share this. Talking about historical houses, right? This message from one of our listeners says, "Yep, they are real and they are a spirit." Says, "I live in an old 1914 house. Saw a tall figure standing over me one night. They said no one could live there, right? I've been living there for now 15 years because I lived there with my three best friends: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But it goes back to that. You said the Bible, the prayer, the belief systems, right? And maybe before the show is out, I'll ask about the development, the displacement, and where the Duppies go, as we were sharing. And I wondered not just the receptiveness of some, the suggestion and acceptability of others. And the last caller after midday, Anita. You can't talk. Now she tells us.
Yeah, about it. Should have told us before we said that. We would have had a early morning show or something.
So you have any Duppie stories? Sorry, Miss Anita, go ahead.
Yeah. In some cultures, though, people kind of welcome. They don't see ghosts as evil.
Yeah.
They welcome them.
They have it as their ancestors.
Yeah, it's a kind of ancestors.
Helpful.
And and it's also like kind of what you believe in your cultural beliefs, and I guess sometimes maybe religion can get into it and make it good or bad sort of thing, and just paranormal experience and afterlife, that kind of links in different religions, believe in different things, or whether you're even open to mystical type of ideas too, like you were saying.
And then we talked about it after, a little before the show, I think yesterday and stuff. Also, I always say that humans are self-centered and thinking that whatever our five senses or sixth sense, if you want to even get there, that we have, everything is limited to that. And it don't take much of like having a pet dog to know that animals can perceive things more than you. I mean, they walk around smelling stuff. Obviously, the dog's known for their having a better, strong sense of smell than us.
And so even kind of like seeing horses too.
All animals. I mean, I mean, my daughter big on animals and stuff. And if you observe an animal, you see the ears twitch, and then they start looking, and you look to see, and sure enough, there's somebody coming or something is happening out of the ordinary over that where their interest is. So it's not far-fetched to think that there's stuff going on more than what we can perceive, our limitations. You've got animals like the whales and elephant and things like that can hear sounds that we can't, and it means different things and different frequencies. And that's part of the scientific thing too. Apparently we can't hear below 20 megahertz or something like that. I don't know if you guys in the radio business would know anything about that. That's what
we say.
The human ear supposedly can't perceive sounds, can't consciously perceive sounds below 20 megahertz. That's what I just came across, one scientific thing. So that is also an aspect of it. But like I said, it's more things happening out there than we can perceive.
Yeah, and we also have to realize that it's not supposedly, some people might think, the kind of ignorant people from the islands or the Caribbean, or, that it came over just from Africa or ancestors from there.
It's that kind of inferiority complex about it.
But it's a whole, the Europeans too, from the Irish, the
it's been around. It's been around.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up about a Smithsonian Magazine article in 2021.
Wonder if we got the same one.
It was a curator at the British Museum, and they had a tablet. And, they thought that nothing was kind of written on it, but then they shone some special light on it, and figures popped up, and some language popped up. And it was from around Babylon, 15 BCE.
And when you say Babylon, you don't mean police, right?
No.
Just checking.
Mesopotamia. and they believe that was the first known depiction of a ghost in human history.
And
when they read it, it was telling how to get rid of this ghost that was haunting this, I think it was haunting a lady.
And that's, forgive me for my ignorance with my time thing, how much years that is? Mesopotamia. Plenty.
Yes,
Centuries.
way before Christ.
Yes, centuries.
Yeah.
Centuries.
Yeah. So thousands. I mean, so you can see that humans probably from when the first burial of someone that was close to them that died, they've been believing in some otherworldly or afterlife or ghost or ghost
continuation of life, or the whole Egyptian, what we know
some
of the
type
Egyptian
of energy.
Yes, supernatural type of thing. What we know of all the Egyptian culture is because of their preparation for afterlife and things like that. So,
on that note, right, we're going to take a break.
It's too heavy. We got to take a break.
Yep.
We got to prepare that after we got to deal with DUPPIES after 12.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven roasted chicken, black forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky. Subway, eat fresh.
I love this bar. Coming up this Friday night, August 19th, the South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers for the 4th annual Cayman Night. Live entertainment will be by a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band. You don't want to miss this exciting fete, playing soca, calypso, merengue, country, soul, and reggae music live with a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band and DJ Archie from Unit Force Disco. Admission is by donations at the door. Music starts 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. this Friday, August 19th at South Coast Bar and Grill. Proceeds will be donated to all primary schools to assist with the purchase of musical instruments.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Breitling watches are defined by quality, innovation, and style. And you have the chance to win one in August during Kirk Freeport's 50th anniversary sweepstakes. Each month, lucky shoppers have the chance to win a piece of jewelry or a watch from luxury brands. Every purchase of $100 at any Kirk Freeport store gains you entry into the monthly drawing. So stop in today. Next up, September's prize is the Chopard Happy Dreams bracelet. View terms and conditions on KirkFreeport.com.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to See What You're Saying, Duppie Part 2. This is where we demystify the Duppie-ness, Duppie stories. And
demystify it. I'm mystified by that.
And we have a we have a call on the phone. Good afternoon, caller. Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
I just tuned in and I hear you talking about these ghosts.
Yes, sir.
The Duppies, yeah.
The Duppies. I don't know whether you mentioned the rolling calf.
Yes, we did last show. We did that topic. I think is it's not. I don't. Is that would you call Duppies? I mean, rolling calf and stuff like that. The same thing or same thing as Duppies? I know it's a big enough topic that we could have a whole show, a separate show on it. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
But I think it falls in the same.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah. So similar to Obia and all that stuff. Mm-hmm.
And caller, have you heard about Jumbi, Olhaig, and Baku?
Well, I've heard that mentioned, but relating to the rolling calf, there's a classic story about the rolling calf when Rum Point was first being commercially developed by Ralph Coatsworth. He had, while he was building his little building there, I think 5 or 6, 7, 8 rental units, and this was in the, I guess, late 50s, early 60s. He built a little hut, had him build a little hut right on the beach there for him, where he was staying there all the time that the construction was going on. And the carpenters was all from North Side. Well, the majority of them anyway. And there was no road going on to Mount Rum Point from North Side. I think that at that time, whatever road there was probably didn't go any further than what would have been around the Grapetree Point area, which is the area, I think, where the hot road goes in. And they would have to walk the beach down, and which was a good walk. It was probably a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on a tide in the morning. And he would get up early and make do some coffee so that when the workers came in, they'd have a little coffee, and then they could get on their work. But he said one morning, and the musician, from Northside, Mr. Faulkner, played the fiddle. In fact, he had a Pirates Week song there. I'm not sure, but I know it appeared on one of the albums. He came in running, out of breath. He said he when he got to him, he just sort of fell down on the ground. He was scared to death, and he said to him, Mr. Faulkner, what's wrong? And Coatsworth didn't know anything about the rolling calf. He said, Mr. Faulkner looked up at him and said, I saw the rolling calf. And he was convinced. Coatsworth said, in fact, there is an audio take of that whole thing available somewhere. But Coatsworth said that Mr. Faulkner was convinced that he saw this rolling calf, and he gave him a description of it, which kind of showed up at one of the Pirates Week floats some years back. But and I think the thing about ghosts, well, I believe it was a kind of deterrent that some parents used to kind of keep the wayward children in line.
We heard last show that I don't know if you heard the term before, but grease man. I don't know if that was particular to Georgetown alone, but the people who brought it up were Georgetown. It was the two that brought it up. Greasy man.
Yeah, I've heard the term mentioned. Yeah, but and there were real fertile grounds, I guess, all over Cayman, that these stories could take on some kind of reality. I mean, I can think of my environment, the little section of beach from where the public beach is in West Bay, clear up to al frescoes. On the seaside, there were literally tens of little grave sites with the buildings or the above ground enclosure, in the shape of houses.
Yes.
On that property, and you didn't pass there unless you were aware that there was ghosts in the bushes there.
And if I can interject too, that I did a little study because I'm trying to find out the origins of them house-shaped graves. Some cultures have it that they're like a house for the spirits. They need some place to go, so they would keep them in that little house shape. That little shape is place where the spirits can dwell.
That's like the ones at Prospect Cemetery.
Yeah,
you know where.
And some in Emsley grave parking lot.
Yeah. We have another caller on the line. Thank you, caller. Thanks for sharing. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Next caller.
Good afternoon to you all, dear.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very interesting topic here. I guess everybody has some duppy story or ghost story to tell, but that personally involve them, you find sometimes people are talking about other people told them something about something. But very interesting what they're all saying there. But my own personal experience, I relate one. I know of two special ones, two or three, but I'll relate one to you all. Some 1969 to mid to late 1970, I was helping to run Shell Station, where the SO station is now, opposite the Compass. Of course, none of those roads ran through, except for the main road.
Beatman's, I think
Yeah, opposite the Compass. There's no through roads anywhere there. None of the buildings that you see, except for that SO station. It was a Shell headquarters. I was helping to run that for my cousin Jim Borden. He had a franchise, and there was a rent-a-car business, and we sold cars, and I got him the Fiat franchise there too. And so I'd be there 7 days a week, but I'd be there late in the night. I'd close up, and I'd do the reports for the Shell wholesale and retail and dip tanks and everything. And I remember Mr. Van Scryton. I'm pretty sure he was Rex's uncle. And I'd known him from he was a very little boy. He used to be chief engineer on the Webster ships and so forth, Webster's. And my father and mother knew him very well from in the 1920s, 30s. Anyhow, Mr. Vance used to stop by there, and I'd give him a ride home. That I was living in Savannah. And he used to sit with me, and wait on me. I remember I can see him right now in his khaki clothes and stooping down and talking to me while I fixed up the report. And, he had a little hip flask. I remember he passed it over to me and I was a sip of rum with him. And then I'd drop him home, I'd take him home. He rarely talked, he'd sit in the back seat. I'll never forget that. He always sit in the back. He never sat in front of me. And he'd talk maybe a little bit away, but I could always hear his heavy breathing in the back. And as he reached nearby the spots where he lived, the seaside, I'd stop and drop him off, and they'd say good night, tell you bye and hello and so forth. And he was gone. So he had passed away, and about 2 weeks after he passed away, and I used to drop him home the night. I locked up the place, drove out to the reports, and when I reached right around the corner by a mango tree, that's where the old airport road was, right close there, more onto the runway the old road was, and I suddenly sensed that he was in the vehicle with me. So my thoughts were never anywhere near to that. I could hear the breathing, and that's what bothered me and really started to startled me. I could hear him breathe. He used to breathe heavily, and I knew he was there. No, I was afraid to look into the rearview mirror to the center, above the windshield here. The other two mirrors don't show inside, so I would look at them. There were very few cars at that time on the road, so I drive, and I said, "My God, I've got to drive with Mr. Vance all the way to the spot." And I could sense it. I knew he was there. I could hear the breathing, and I can't. To this day, it's just like it happened yesterday. I can sense the feeling I had. And remember when I reached the spot, graveyard, he was buried, the spot cemetery, the kind of feeling disappeared, but I was so frightened. I'm not a person that easily frightened like that. When I reached the Savannah, where I lived just after where would be the sign now for entering Savannah, so forth on the left, I remember turning the car in. I jumped up. My father had always sit on the porch and sort of wait. And I remember jumping out, and I said, "Papa, Van Scranton was in this car with me." I jumped out, left the lights on, and left it running. He said, "Don't worry, son." I shut it off. And I ran. I wouldn't stay. I'll never forget that. I felt so embarrassed about that, my father, but I've never forgotten that thing. It was so very, very real that when I'm talking to you all right now, I can just picture the kind of frame of mind I would have been with that. I can't forget that incident. I have other incidents that are, related to horses, as you said, they can. And I remember my little donkey there at Peeville. I remember very well, they can sense the supernatural. That's no made-up thing, they can. But you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, and thank you so much for sharing. I enjoy that. I tell you what, he made sure that you didn't feel lonely on that drive home.
And you remembered him.
Yep, that's right. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more. See what you're saying.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences. We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vant Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Your Yesteryear Musical, Saturday evenings at 8 o'clock on Breeze Radio. Entertaining, enlightening, and inspirational. Topical with CI cultural and heritage flashbacks and the wonderful music of yesteryear, from the Thomas Edison era to the recent past. Your Yesteryear Musical, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on Breeze Radio, 105.3 FM in Grand Cayman and 91.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
The Family Resource Center has a limited number of spaces available for families that qualify for the comprehensive 13-week clinical program, SNAP, which stands for Stop Now and Plan. SNAP is a proven model that helps children with behavioral difficulties and their parents to learn how to effectively manage their emotions and keep their problems small. All families who have successfully completed the program submitted positive reviews. If your child is between the ages of 9 and 11 and experiencing issues at home, school, or in the community, please contact the Family Resource Center by August 23rd at frc@gov.ky or call them at 949-0006 and ask for Miles Ruby or Amber Calm.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Did you know you must ensure all utensils are washed with detergent and rinsed with hot water if they make contact with flood water? For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
Subway is giving you flavor around the clock with the new Chicken Squad sandwich options. Try the classic chicken and bacon ranch, the sweet and savory barbecue chicken, or the chicken cordon bleu. 3 new appetizing and delicious sub options that you can also make into a wrap. The Chicken Squad is available at Subway for only a limited time. Subway, giving you something to cluck about.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
We wanna go and dally, Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine. 7 Mile Beach might have changed, but Backyard is bringing it back. True Caribbean food in the heart of 7 Mile, just like Mama's home cooking. Brown stew snapper, Cayman-style beef, jerk chicken, turtle stew, and the delicious list goes on. Dine in, take out, or order with the Bento app. Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine, 269 West Bay Road, or call 746-4603. Backyard, daily lunch specials, and the one-of-a-kind Fun Day Sunday brunch.
Backyard. How would you describe WHA Saying?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
WHA Saying?
WHA Saying going up until 2 o'clock this afternoon because we have a press briefing at that time. In the meantime, in the studio we have Ms. Anita Ebanks, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and Ray Banker. This is your host, Anita Khan, sitting in for Sterling Dwayne
And
Ebanks.
it's funny, it had to be him that wooed it. Since we got such an abbreviated a show here and we got so much more information on this thing, what do you think of a DUPPIES 3? This is the first time I've come across that.
Two quick things, right? Y'all just answer that first. Maybe I'll give you a premise.
But what? You tell me.
Someone said, I believe all the words that Mr. Harrelson was saying. Say, one was in my car smoking a cigar. Yeah, they're real. So, Miss Anita, you'd want to do another one of these? Given
because I don't think she got to do all of hers. I mean, she did a whole article on what ABCs of DUPPIES. Is that what that was?
No, it was ABCs of Caymanian heritage, and one of the articles was all about DUPPIES.
All about DUPPIES. What we referred to before. We got one clip. Let's do it in the vein. I'm gonna have to come back next time and do the scientific part of it. We got one clip that adds to Miss Khan's thing about and Miss Bonafide.
Oh,
Bonafide
Duppie committee.
Duppie welcoming committee to Cayman, and this is a thing. So, can we? This is the Can we do the clip? And it's a Filipino version of it.
Back home in the Philippines, I can only feel spirits or something, but I've never seen one. seen a ghost or spirit.
Or duppie?
A duppie, yeah.
We call it, yeah. Go ahead.
Then I came on September 2006. I stayed in a house in Fairbanks with my family and shared a room with 2 other women. Then the two ladies slept on the queen size bed and me on a air mattress. Normally, I woke up around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. every night to use the bathroom. But on September 30, roughly, around 4:30 a.m., when I opened my eyes, I saw a girl floating in the air next to me by my head. It's like 1.5 to 2 feet above ground. And she's wearing a long night dress, and she has long braided hair down to her chest, and it's all white and you cannot see her face. It's smoky. So I covered myself and prayed. I was scared that time. I waited like an hour until I heard the rooster and a little bit of sunlight. Then that's the time I got up and went to the bathroom.
So rooster saved your life.
Yeah, so I told my housemates about it. Then I asked our landlord if somebody died in that house, and she said nobody because it's a new house and we are the first tenants. So I asked her again if she know a girl around 9 or 10 years old who died, and she said her 10-year-old niece died last year and she was sick that time. So when I told her what happened that morning, she said maybe it's her. So after that, I lit a candle and prayed for her soul.
So there was no drugs or alcohol involved?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Okay.
Thank you for... So it's what she didn't really... first of all, she's obviously Filipino, and what they call duppies over there is multo. So if you're Filipino listening to the radio, multo, she had experienced a multo in Cayman. And like she says, in Philippines, she didn't...
for you?
Huh? What? Multo. That's before me. A multo. And she said she would... She was funny when she was Philippine, she would experience like at religious gatherings and stuff. And say that a certain house that some of the party was at, they were saying they would come to the house to pray for the people and stuff like that. She said she would send some stuff, but not until coming to Cayman, welcoming committee, that she saw something physical like that. And what she didn't really explain how the reaction of the landlady. She said she was like, like she was really aghast. She was like flabbergasted because she said all her description of it was just like her niece. And she was just like, oh my God, that's my niece. You know? So, and again, so it's welcoming committee. And it's also describing somebody that you've never seen before to somebody. Of course, it could be like, oh, well, that sounds like certain people and stuff. But I mean, it's too much a coincidence, I think. You know, there's something there. I think, anyway.
It'd always be interesting if I recognize, as you shared, time is... Well, if the press briefing starts at 2 and on time, we'll just go to it.
Yeah.
But as a caller referenced earlier, anything after midday, not just that belief system that may exist in this community or in others that share that. I'll be interested to know if anybody is either courageous enough to share that they had an experience listening to the show afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I know that the following the previous show...
What about people in this room? Anybody in this room want to share? Let me see.
No, I think what he was asking is...
Yeah, but you don't know what I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you were asking that if people that were listening then had an experience after, that somehow they were awakened.
Remember,
either remembered or
like if they had
awake.
Like if they had a fever or something. Because Miss Anita brought up a aspect of it that I kind of didn't go that direction, but it is a possibility also. You know, we might have to do 3. Are you open to come into another experience one of these things?
Possibly. I mean, because one aspect of this that we haven't brought up is that in a lot of places in the world, like even just next door in Jamaica, tourism and ghosts kind of link up.
Yeah.
You know, there's
definitely a dark
Palma's house, what was it called again in Jamaica?
There's a White Witch house and stuff. Yeah, is that the same one?
Yeah. You know, and in another part, I mean, the U.S., you know, a lot of their battleground areas, and in England, you know, the Tower of.
We could do that. We could have we could get into DOT and tell them there's a DUPPIE welcoming committee.
I can head it up for you. And I think we take a news, Susan. News. Okay, so we're going to take it to news, and if they're ready for a new press briefing, we'll take it. But in the meantime, to the news.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
The Department of Tourism says the recent airlift capacity report shows Q4 2022 seat recovery exceeding Q4 2019 levels by 1%. The Minister for Tourism says the airlift capacity report is a welcome indication of recovery as we look ahead to the 2022-2023 season. In international news, Finland's Prime Minister has said she has taken a drug test after new footage emerged showing the leader dancing with a Finnish pop star. Sanna Marin, 36, came under fire this week after a leaked video showed her partying with some politicians saying she should be tested for narcotics. At a news conference on Friday, Ms. Marin said she had taken the test and expects the results next week. The Prime Minister repeated her denials that she has ever taken drugs. The Prime Minister also insisted that she is entitled to the presumption of innocence. London's transport network ground to a halt on Friday as train and bus workers held strikes over pay and conditions, the latest in a summer of labour market disputes as double-digit inflation eats into wages. All London underground and overground train lines were suspended or part suspended, and dozens of bus routes in the west of the city were disrupted, Transport for London said. Tens of thousands of workers from the UK National Rail Network walked out on Thursday and will do so again on Saturday. Commuters across the country have already endured disruption from rail strikes this year, organised by unions demanding pay and conditions for their members that better reflect the soaring cost of living caused by energy price inflation. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky. How would you describe WHA saying?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
WHA saying?
You want me to throw it back? Good afternoon. Welcome back to See What You're Saying, Duppie Part 2.
So we don't know if we could get shut down yet.
No,
so
we
we'll
don't
just
know.
continue.
No,
so
we just keep going.
One thing that I wanted to poll, we were talking about whether this show or these shows will spawn or spur people's memory of their experiences, and hopefully it'll call or somehow, if we do a third one, we got to decide on that. We'll do a third one. Because I got the scientific stuff. We never talked about
No, I'm still waiting.
Yeah, well, we got to wait now because it's so late. But Mermaid, the Mermaid place, there's a place called Mermaids. I keep referencing in the oral history. Mermaid in East End. Anybody know where that is? Somebody in East End knows. Somebody had texted me. I got to check this too. But Mermaids in East End. Mermaids.
You might have people going looking for them, no?
And another place in Cayman, well, we got Duppie Turn in our side that's pretty famous. You can go online and reference that. There was a sign there. I think they said somebody destroyed it. I think they need to put that back. They made it a more sturdier thing. Maybe the museum can help them with the signage thing or something. But Granny Well off Shedden Road, this is a Georgetown thing. Granny Well, everybody went to the well for water. and it was said it was owned by an old lady that died. It was reported that people could see her sitting on the well after she died. Yeah, this is from Al Banks, and I think Al. I don't know why he didn't call.
Yes. See, that might be some of the tourism things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Miss Anita is way called in for what you call it. Oh, Sharon. Oh, Miss Carmen. Miss Carmen want to share a Dupper story. So what I could do? How to call Miss Carmen or what? Miss Carmen. Maybe Miss Carmen do for Dupper 3. But we really would like to, the East Enders out there, if they could somehow get a hold of me, tell me where Mermaids is. There's a place in East End that they reference as Mermaids. Okay? And
Miss Anita, what do you have? You had something over there that you wanted to read.
No, I don't have enough time yet.
We gonna have to do 3. I think we're gonna have to do 3. Honestly, because like I said, there's scientific reasons, and I shared some of them.
Well, you make a decision now. You got a mic in front of you.
I'm thinking I have to do Duppie 3.
Okay, so we're going to have Duppie 3.
Because I think it takes that long.
Are you invite me back for Duppie 3?
Come back for Duppie 3 and you can tell us more of your Duppie story. Because there's a Radio Cayman. Nobody has told us about the Radio Cayman Duppie story.
I'll share this without permission.
You share that now or Duppie 3?
No, I'm going to share it now without permission.
Okay. I thought you want to save it for 3.
Yeah, no. We got lots more. We can do 3, 4, 5, and 6.
That's a lot of ghosts.
Yeah.
But one is that one of the announcers, I'm not going to call his name, well-known announcer, right here at Radio Cayman.
Is he an elderly one? Like
no.
A grandfatherly figure?
Maybe grandfatherish kind of thing. And he said he was reading an announcement and he was making some mistakes.
It was a sports one, I heard. Was that right?
No, he didn't say what kind of report he was reading.
I think it was sports.
Or an announcement he was reading.
Am I getting that one right? Sports? Yes.
Sports?
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell me what sports.
See? Which is critical to the story, I think.
Right, okay. And somebody hit that paper out of his hand, clear out of his hand. Dragged it? Oh, Susan said, juck it. Okay, yeah. Susan said,
so it was an African thing.
He was a jucker. Jucked it from his hand. And today's day, he's petrified.
Good. Certain person needs it.
He needs company when he works in the nights.
Oh,
and sometimes.
And I heard he was a naysayer and non-believer before that too. Wasn't that true?
I don't know where you got their information from.
Nice
but,
one.
You know too much.
Ray. I know it, and that's a bad thing if Ray knows too much.
Yeah, I can't let you have that kind of information out
there.
Yeah. But no, yeah, Miss Anita, let's see what you have.
What do you call it? Duppies is. That's the other thing. We're looking for people in the BRAC also that familiar with Bob Fuller. Apparently, this is the one that the author of the Duppies is book, which is kind of our Bible for this topic, the Duppies is story. And he apparently he died in he lived most of his life in Hutland Northside, which came up in the store and last one, and the Duppie turn thing. And he actually had something to do with what the caller were talking about to the Rum Point story. But he died and is buried in West End Cemetery in Kimmenbrack. But he was known for walking with his tape recorder, and that's where he taped a lot of these stories. If anybody knows any whereabouts of those tapes, that would be really, really valuable resource for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Mr. Bob Fuller's...
when did he die, do you know?
He died says here, in 1977. At age 75, and is buried. There's a plaque and everything.
Where was he from?
He was from Milwaukee County, Wisconsin.
And he lived here?
U.S. He lived here, I don't know, for a couple of decades, I think.
Yeah, he came in like 1939 or 40.
Yes.
And then I think he was here for several decades then, and then went away and then came back. And his first
and he had a scientific background. Yeah.
The first version of his book was
67.
67.
And it was republished in 81. I really want 81 one that has the illustration on
edition?
it. 81? Yeah, 81.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know who did that.
Yeah, that's a children's. We're pointing to the graphic that we use to advertise the show. And it's a children's illustration. Duppies is And there was a thing behind that too. I think that made it all the way to Japan on a children's poster competition. But the DUPPIES book, the 81 version, is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the preface of his 67, he says, this account of Caymanian Duppies has been rewritten a number of times, correcting, revising, improving. In the first writing, all names of people quoted were included. But as one by one, various of the natives, that's what he called us, natives requested anonymity.
Yeah.
Most names were deleted. Also, in the beginning, the quotes were all verbatim and taken directly from my portable tape recorder that you mentioned, until one islander pointed out that in too many cases, especially among the older inhabitants, the wording gave the erroneous impression that Caymanians were solely lacking in proper education.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And
he's left some of that there, and I mean,
Yeah.
it just adds such a flavor.
Yeah.
Therefore, most quotations were made to read more grammatically correct. And there was one statement, however, repeated so often by old-timers that it stands out too vividly to omit. It must be said emphatically. It is, don't ever let nobody ever tell you there ain't no Duppies. Duppies is.
Duppies is.
Duppies is.
Duppies is for real.
And he took all that stuff directly from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So
we're going to have part 3 then.
I think we're going to have part 3.
So you want to?
I think we'll have part 3 because we have a quote from Ira Thompson. We have a Ira Thompson Duppie story.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories in here, I think we really need to. I loved some of his stories. That I was rereading the book,
and I found it hard to read. I have to admit, I didn't go through all of it because I think because of all of the things, for me, the meat was taken out of it. The relating to it with the, putting you in the room with the person with their language and stuff like that. And that's why I try to use Cayman language even in my text. that drives you crazy.
Where can you find that book, right?
But some of it he like the chapter.
No, that's not a duppy.
And
oh dear.
Susan, are we ready?
That's not a duppy.
Susan,
go on.
Are we ready? Okay. If you're just joining us, this is WHA Saying Duppie Part 2. You have Ray Banker. Duppies Part 2. And if you missed Part 1, you can catch it on YouTube. Just type in Radio Cayman Talk Today, July 15th, and you can play catch up with Part 1. So, Sterling,
yes, ma'am.
How am I doing?
How am I doing?
Anita, you have done it remarkably well, as you always do. And if you would accept the public invitation.
Okay, tell you what, we got to cut that short. To Susan for the press briefing.
Okay.
And those of you who have tuned in to YouTube and on the GIS channel, and I think on Radio Cayman as well, hopefully. This, I think, let's say we hope and pray. Will be our last specific COVID-19 press briefing. After careful consideration of the local and international situations, along with guidance from our public health department and, of course, our chief medical officer, Cabinet has been in the process today of approving further amendments to the control of COVID-19 travel regulations and the control and management of COVID-19 regulations. Those changes to the regulations are scheduled to come into effect on Wednesday, the 24th of August. Now, this is obviously following 2.5 years of COVID-19 related restrictions having been put in place. We're now satisfied that we can safely eliminate all but a few of the remaining public health measures. We have arrived at this decision, ladies and gentlemen, not because of economic pressures or anything like that. It is largely due in part to the experience with the prevalence of COVID-19 around the world being on the decline, and very importantly, the high rate of vaccination in the Cayman Islands. This has been providing us with very substantial protection from severe illness and death with people, of course, who do contract the virus. Now, our success in managing COVID-19 and navigating the pandemic with relatively so few lives lost is really a testament to our willingness as a people, as a country, to work together for the greater good. Therefore, the changes to the regulations that I will outline shortly reflect a further continuation of our science-based, people-first approach to the pandemic as it exists in the Cayman Islands. Now, I want to give you a very brief overview of the changes. And firstly, all restrictions in respect of those traveling to or within the Cayman Islands have been removed. This means travelers are no longer required to apply for a travel declaration, will no longer, as of the 24th, be required to apply for a travel declaration, travel request, or show proof of vaccination upon arrival in the Cayman Islands. Secondly, there is no longer, or will no longer be a requirement for people to test once they have completed their isolation period, having been found to be infected. However, all persons who have tested positive are required to isolate for a period of not less than 7 days. Thirdly, close contacts of people testing positive for COVID-19 can continue to work, attend school, given on the basis that they complete a daily lateral flow test and obviously obtain a negative result. To any people, any of our citizens who may not be comfortable with the relaxation of the restrictions, I want to reassure you that we are continuing to monitor the data, monitor the global trends, and will always, as we have done in the past, put the health of our community first. If in the future the fact pattern changes dramatically, if there's anything to suggest that we ought to, from a community health perspective, put in place or re-implement any protocols, then we will do that, and we'll do that on the basis of the best available advice to us. We will continue to be responsive to the science, and we certainly thank the Public Health Department and, of course, as I mentioned earlier, our Chief Medical Officer for their ongoing advice, their support, their guidance, and all of that they have provided in the past to us. Now, whether you expect to be interacting with visitors or if you're taking that long-awaited vacation off island, I still encourage you to take the proper precautions, to practice the well-known now health and hygiene habits which can protect you from contracting COVID-19. These precautions are particularly important if you're going to be obviously in large crowds. Now, we encourage all persons who are able to do so to get vaccinated. We do have a higher rate of vaccination, but certainly for those people who have not been vaccinated, we continue to encourage vaccination. It is one of the reasons we've had such a good result here in the Cayman Islands. If you are already vaccinated, if you've had your double doses, please consider getting the booster. If you've had the third booster, consider getting the fourth booster. They do work. Now, the CMO, Chief Medical Officer, will be speaking to this a little more later. Remember also to do your own personal lateral flow test if you plan to visit your elderly relatives or any elderly persons in the country or any other vulnerable persons. If you're positive, please isolate and report it to the Health Services Authority. I also want to emphasize that the changes announced today to the COVID-19 regs that are issued under the Public Health Act are only in respect of those specific public health regulations. Those changes do not relate to any of the provisions or requirements in respect of COVID-19 vaccinations which exist under the Immigration Transition Act and any regulations made thereunder. Now, as a country, as a government, of course, we have been under a significant amount of pressure from COVID, but government, certainly my colleagues and I, are absolutely dedicated to ensuring that we're bettering the lives of our people, no matter what it takes. And I know that for some people, the pace of change in terms of some of the regulations have not been as rapid, perhaps, as they would have liked. But rest assured, we are determined to ensure your safety. And it is with that in mind that we have been acting entirely through the arc of our experience with COVID. So, the people of the Cayman Islands, you have been on board with our strategy to rely on the COVID-19 vaccination, and together we have saved lives with that strategy. As I mentioned earlier, our death rate is very low because of that, and I thank those of you who have been vaccinated. Your participation and adherence to safety protocols as well is one of the contributing factors to our success. So thank all of you very much for working with us and reflecting that thoughtful, considerate, Cayman-kind spirit that we are known for. Ladies and gentlemen, our collective experience over the past 2.5 years provided us an unprecedented perspective and taught us several valuable lessons. We learned a lot about the systems to government, notably in healthcare and education, how to be flexible, how to make them work better. And we learned important lessons about our economy as well, and the industries which sustain our prosperity. We saw firsthand the stark income inequalities in our small population, the vulnerabilities of our lower and middle income Caymanians and lower income guest workers as well. But most importantly, we saw care and we experienced care, concern and generosity for one another. We demonstrated strength and resilience across our communities in each of our 3 beautiful islands. We intend to fully utilize the lessons learned to plan more efficiently and effectively, and to test those plans, and to be that much more prepared for any future challenges that may come our way. Now, in conclusion, over the past few years, the citizens and residents of these islands, as I said, have been resilient, with our minds made up and showing a very significant sense of determination that we get through this pandemic. And that is very good for us in terms of any other challenges that we may experience as a country. Ultimately, it is up to all of us to do our part, to be responsible, and to enable and strive for the best outcome for our country. As a government, we are grateful to be putting, hopefully, fingers crossed, putting COVID-19 in the rear view mirror. I hope I don't come to regret saying that. And to be able to dedicate more of our time and attention in addressing some of the more complex and long-standing issues facing our communities. as well as pursuing the multiple good opportunities that exist before us. I want to say we are very fortunate, and I can provide perspective having come back just yesterday from a Caribbean Regional Heads of Government conference in the Bahamas. We are extremely fortunate in the Cayman Islands, this wonderful trio of gems that we have. And I would like people to remember that despite our problems, there are many that have many more problems that we do not have. So we, I think, can consider ourselves a blessed country. And though we face many challenges, there's no denying that, as I've said, we must protect our economy, our environment, and most importantly, our people. And this government, our government, is entirely committed to doing just that. Now I will turn the mic over to my colleague and Minister for Health and Wellness, Honorable Sabrina Turner, who will outline some of the public health requirements in some more detail. And thank you very much again.
Honorable Premier, thank you. And as you alluded to, I am most honored and grateful to be here today in this sitting and being able to make these announcements and changes specifically to the COVID-19 travel regulations and to the COVID-19 control and management regulations that is scheduled to come into effect next week, Wednesday, the 24th of August. But understanding the importance and how far-reaching these regulations can go and affect the various industries is why is it important? It is important for us to be here, putting ourselves in this position and alerting and informing our public of what's to come. Now, the removal of the restrictions and the shortening of the regulations that was scheduled to expire the end of this month is based on the evidence of worldwide decline in COVID-19 prevalence, and our interim CMO, Dr. Otelia Newton, will go into those stats later on in this presentation. But with that, we are more than comfortable as your cabinet and as your Minister of Health with the constitutional responsibility to make this decision. Now, the control and management of COVID-19 regulations that will no longer remain in effect as of August 24th are as follows. There are no longer any restrictions on public gatherings, whether land or sea, indoors or outdoors. Now, mask wearing remains discretionary in churches and restaurants or bars. However, what remains will be mask wearing for persons visiting healthcare facilities, residential homes, places of detention, and prisons. And we'll get some more information under that under the COVID management regulations number 4 that is scheduled to expire then on the 24th of October or until, Cabinet decides whether or not that can be removed a little earlier. Now, restrictions around sporting activities, public transport, scuba diving, hookah, shisha pipes, boating, fishing, travel between the islands have been repealed in the proposed coming regulations. That means we have returned the responsibility to the people of the Cayman Islands and expect that each of us will remain cognizant, nevertheless, of COVID-19 as we perform in our day-to-day activities. Let me express how I am filled with a lot of emotion this afternoon as I sit here with you. First and foremost, allow me to humbly express my gratitude and the pride that I have in our public health team. Let me say that they have not wavered one bit in the face of this pandemic, and they have been able to face this pandemic head on. They're still out there testing and administering vaccines to keep our community safe. Just this morning, I observed the public health staff out at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex still continuing drive-through testing for and I want to thank them for their consistent dedication and hard work. For that, I am truly grateful. Now, to our private healthcare partners for filling in the gaps and partnering with us when our team simply could not manage the workload, I say thank you. to our community organizations who aided the persons displaced by COVID-19 in whatever way they could, again, thank you. And to each and every one of you, the people of these beautiful islands, thank you for your patience and compliance up until this point. I am confident that everyone in our community will continue to be aware of the infectious disease, and let me remind you to be mindful of all elements of your health as we continue to live our lives. This will include keeping our vaccine coverage updated. Now, as I stated earlier on, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Newton, will share some information, stats especially, with us in just a few moments that will outline just how much vaccination, and particularly boosters, has prevented loss of life from COVID-19 right here in the Cayman Islands. Vaccination has been, and we have proven that, a key component in why we're able to sit here today and make these announcements of further relaxation in our regulations. I can personally recall the days of once being a member, probably just like yourselves, driving in our cars, sitting in the front of our TVs, watching them, and cutting even telephone calls short, wondering what was next. I can recall the fear that we felt of the unknown and the anxiety of life and the world, how the world has changed. But look, Cayman, look at where we are today. While this is indeed a moment that we must all share and be proud of, the fact that it is public health surveillance and monitoring will still be an important component in just being vigilant as we enter this new chapter, because COVID-19 is still considered a pandemic by WHO, and it is a notifiable disease. Therefore, I am appealing for persons to report any positive LFT. Report it to public health, and you can do this via explore.gov.ky. And as the Honorable Premier alluded to earlier on, the isolation period for all persons, whether or not you're vaccinated, will now be 7 days. So there's no distinction between vaxxed and unvaccinated person. The isolation period has now been, and what is being proposed is 7 days. So confirmatory PCR testing by public health is strongly recommended, and we will be offering these PCRs free of charge to persons who test positive by LFT. The drive-through testing days will remain Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. And this will also serve to propose ensuring that we get the correct diagnosis by providing the genomic sequencing samples. Now, close contacts of persons who tested positive for COVID-19 can continue to work or attend school once they take daily LFTs over 7 days and remain at home if they find themselves with symptoms. Vaccination clinics are still currently being held at public health, and public health will ramp up their presence again ahead of the spike anticipated in the fall season. So I want to encourage you to get your booster and heed your public health non-medical protocols. And we intend to increase our messaging as it relates to non-medical, let's say, hand hygiene. We'll be getting out on the road and definitely promoting this as we make sure that it's important of us taking care of our physical and mental health. Now, this has been our key success thus far following the non-medical public health protocols, and I trust that we will continue to follow this methodology as we are able to maintain a state of normalcy. The bottom line and a key takeaway today is that it's better to be boosted. The lessons learned thus far have not made, trust me, the workload of the Ministry of Health and Wellness light. But I believe that we have risen, and we have proven that we have risen to the occasion and will continue to do in our future planning. From securing one of the world's best infectious disease expert to serve as our interim chief medical officer, to being amongst the first countries in the world to achieve a high vaccination rate, now having a national epidemiologist to research and to guide us in our public health policy making. We have met many, many milestones since taking office. Of all of these emotions today that I feel, the one I feel most is blessed. Blessed to live in the most beautiful country in the world, our Cayman Islands. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Prospect people for electing me, to the Honorable Premier for support and being supported by His Excellency the Governor for assenting me with the constitutional responsibility of being your Minister for Health, Wellness, and Home Affairs. I'm honored to be able to work with an energetic, supported group of persons in my Ministry of Health and Wellness, respecting each and every one of you and how you've shown resilience, dedication, standing strong, but standing strong together, and taking on every challenge with grace and executing on our day-to-day duties with top professionalism at all times. I'm also grateful that we did not fare out the way initial predictions of our country said we would. I am grateful that our COVID-19 related death toll remains amongst the lowest in the world. And I am also grateful to all the medical personnel, the policymakers, the essential workers, and the volunteers who led us through the most uncertain days to where we are now. Thank you for your time, and God bless these Cayman Islands as I turn this over to the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Transport, because I know with the relaxation of these, the positive impacts it will have on our tourism product. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and she is exactly right. I am a very happy minister today. Good afternoon, Cayman, and a pleasant good evening and good afternoon to all of those who have joined us here in the studio, as well as those of you who are listening and watching online on YouTube and by the radio. It is a pleasure to be here, especially when there is some good news to share. Since the start of the pandemic over 2 years ago, the travel and tourism industry has looked forward to a day when the government could announce that travel restrictions for anyone traveling to or within the Cayman Islands have been removed. The day for that announcement is today, as you've heard from our Honorable Premier and our Honorable Minister of Health. As you've heard from the Honorable Premier and the Minister of Health, under the new regulations, which I'm going to repeat, you've heard before, as of the 24th of August, which is next week Wednesday, travelers are no longer required to apply for a certificate or declaration for travel to and from the Cayman Islands relating to COVID-19. They no longer have to be fully vaccinated prior to arriving in the Cayman Islands, nor will travelers have to quarantine or isolate upon arrival. Now, I'm going to focus mainly on the things related to travel and respect to tourism. This is not just good news for travelers, it is great news for the tourism industry, especially as we continue to recover and rebuild after years of COVID-related constraints. The new regulations are in keeping with the current global environment. As the Minister of Tourism, I'm in full support and welcome these changes. It was becoming increasingly clear that the restrictions on travel, particularly our stance on only accepting vaccinated travelers, was out of step with other countries around the world that had lifted their travel restrictions some time ago. Many of those countries, particularly the warm weather destinations in the Caribbean region, competes for the same tourism dollars that we work so hard to attract. The removal of our travel restrictions levels the playing field and it will present the Cayman Islands in a much more favorable light for visitors and improve our competitiveness. The lifting of these restrictions will translate into more business for service providers in the tourism industry and lead to increased economic activity and jobs for Caymanians. It also makes the processing of passengers through our border control areas faster and more efficient at our airports, which improves the traveler experience. And it is very important to me as minister that they enjoy their time here in our wonderful home. Though we still have a ways to go before the industry fully returns to 2019 pre-pandemic levels, each time travel restrictions have been relaxed, there has been a corresponding increase in visitor arrivals. This occurred in November 2021 when the travel restrictions were first eased. It happened again in January 2022 when children and families were allowed to travel together. And we saw it once more in February when the mandate for LFTs 2, 5, and 7 testing on arrivals were removed. I'm optimistic that the discontinuation of COVID-related travel restrictions will lead to an influx of tourists who have longed to enjoy our beautiful beaches and warm Caymanian hospitality. But because of them being unvaccinated, they could not come to our home. Speaking of visitor arrivals, I'm very pleased to report that the Destination Performance Biannual Report has been finalized by my Department of Tourism and shows that in the first 6 months of the year, stayover arrivals have trended upwards, increasing month after month. Between January and June, our islands welcomed over 114,000 stayover visitors and 215,000 cruise passengers. The report is very comprehensive, and over the next couple of weeks, or I think we have some intentions of meeting with the media next week, we'll be making several media appearances to dive more deeply into those results. So look out for more announcements in the coming week. In the meantime, I would like to update the public on our airlift capacity, or better known as our airline seats to our country. The Department of Tourism has created a report that tracks airlift capacity and compares it to 2019 numbers, in much the same way that we compare stayover arrivals to our 2019 figures, because that was the last full year of tourism before the pandemic. And I'm happy to announce that the airlift report highlights that in the fourth quarter of this year, the Cayman Islands will have 1,253 more airline seats than we had in 2019. Basically, we can potentially have 1,200 more people visiting the Cayman Islands than we did in the fourth quarter of 2019. That's big news. That's 1% more than we had in 2019. This is very encouraging news, and it is a sign of the confidence of in our destination by international airlines. And it gives us reason to believe that we can look ahead to 2022 to 23 winter season, with some bright figures ahead. And I hope the money comes along with it, so my budget can be better. As I look forward to sharing the full slate of results with the public next week and digging much more deeply into the economic impact of tourism from the first half of this year. Before bringing my remarks to a close, I would like to extend many thanks and appreciation to my Director of Tourism, Ms. Rosa Harris, as well as to all of our tourism partners and stakeholders, including Cayman Airways, the Airports Authority, the Civil Aviation Authority, the Border Control Unit, and many others for their hard work and collaboration in increasing the number of airline seats to our country. And I hope it does translate to more visitors. As we are on the topic of aviation, in my final words today, I would like to announce that the Ministry and Department of Tourism have partnered with the International Air Transportation Association, better known as IATA, to host the 4th Caribbean Aviation Day here in the Cayman Islands on Wednesday, the 14th of September at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's theme is Recover, Reconnect, Revive, and will bring ministers of tourism from across the Caribbean, senior executives, and experts from tourism and aviation industries together to discuss important issues such as multi-destinational tourism and aviation sustainability. I'm privileged to be the keynote speaker, and I will be joined by speakers which include our Honorable Christopher Saunders, our Deputy Premier, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism from Jamaica, the Honorable Lisa Cummings, Minister of Tourism and International Transport from Barbados, Ms. Marla Dukerin, the well-known economist and leading advisor in the Caribbean, and many, many more. Registration for local businesses and residents have been greatly reduced from $150 to just US $50, which is only $40 CI, which includes refreshments and lunch. So I encourage everyone associated with or with interest in tourism, aviation, or any airline transportation sectors in particular to register. More information and a link to register can be found on the Ministry of Tourism's Facebook page. Space is limited, so please sign up as soon if you want to attend. Thank you, and I look forward to any questions from the media.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister Bryan, and to the rest of the panel. We're now going to call on the Interim Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Artelia Newton, for some remarks.
Thank you very much. Honorable Premier, Honorable Minister of Health and Ministry of Tourism and Public in Cayman. I just want to confirm what the other speakers have already said, that the reason why these measures are being repealing is because there is evidence that supports the safety of the removing of the regulations. So basically, we know worldwide, according to WHO, that, and specifically countries' surveillance, that the prevalence of the COVID is going down. We know the effects, the very positive effects of the protection from the vaccine. And we know that in Cayman, we have a very good coverage, certainly for the first 2 doses, which allows us, looking at how is going in terms of hospital admission or deaths, which we know they are the very, it remains at a very low level, that we can now afford to remove these regulations. My message is that for anybody who is not vaccinated with the first and second dose, please do seek vaccination. And for everybody to seek the third dose, the booster, and then for the over 50s and those one of any age in the at-risk group to seek a 4th dose. This is basically our insurance policy to make sure that we can continue to have a very little negative effect from COVID. COVID is still around. It will remain around as any other of the respiratory viruses, but we are approaching it as now part of other respiratory viruses. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Very much, Dr. Newton. We appreciate that update. I'm now going to call on Reshma from the Compass for any questions.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll start first with the tourism announcement. Minister Bryan or Premier, you can answer. These changes only relate to air arrivals. Are there any changes we can expect for cruise tourism? We do know that cruise ships are required to have the vaccination status declared and so forth. So what are the plans for cruise tourism?
Well, let me just say, I'll let the minister come in a second, but let me just say that I know somebody's going to ask this question, and you probably will. So I hope I'm not preempting you. But I really want to thank one particular department, a unit that will be affected by this. And I see you shaking. I know you're going to ask this question, right? So I am in a way preempting you. This is in relation to the Travel Cayman unit.
That's right.
I want to thank them very much for the dedication and the level of service that they have brought to our travel process. it has no doubt really significantly and positively improved the experience of our visitors and our own Caymanians, because I know from the numbers of calls that I get and the numbers of calls that my colleagues have received. But our announcement today affects them directly. And I want to say to all of them, because I'm pretty sure that they are listening, I want to say thank you very much for the dedication and the work that you all have put in. It has made a huge difference to the country. It's a massive contribution to the country. We have the chief officer from the ministry here who will no doubt, you go ahead and ask your question and he can respond to that. But I wanted to say that up front. I know what the minister's response is going to be to the cruise answer, so I'll let him go ahead and do that. But I wanted to say that up front because I thought it was very important to make it very clear that we understand the impact that our decisions have, and that we wanted to thank specifically those people.
All right, thank you, Premier. I still have more.
You can come with it.
I want to join hands with the Honourable Premier, and I think I can safely say on behalf of the rest of my colleagues, the magnitude of thanks that we offer to the Travel Cayman Unit, particularly that is headed up by Miss Cassandra
Hibbert or
Morris. She's done a great job. She actually came from the Department of Tourism and took up the mantle at a time when the country needed her and led a great group of Caymanians. So I want to especially highlight that along with the Premier. And I'm certain that the Chief Officer will respond. In respect to your question about cruise, I am happy to say that that these regs will address some of those concerns. I know that the Compass Media was continuously requesting concerns about the new changes to CDC and the cruise line policy FCCA and how it would affect the Cayman Islands. We were potentially could have, if we didn't make these changes, we could have possibly been on the verge of losing some percentage of persons who would not have been able to come off the ship when they arrived as their policy started to come in place, because they started to take a larger number of adult passengers who were not vaccinated. So, but thankfully that's not going to be a problem at all, because their policy just came into play. The numbers of people who are already coming to the cruise line, coming to the Cayman Islands over the last week and up until Wednesday, they weren't affected by that change in policy because they were pre-bookings from before. So we won't have any negative effect at all, and these changes resolve that. And so interesting, I was going to put that in my speech, but I took it out. But you must have been reading my mind.
Probably. So, Mr. Howell, since the questions will relate to you, for Travel Cayman specifically, and thank you. Good afternoon. So, can you provide us with an update on what's going to happen with the Travel Cayman staff and how many will be impacted?
Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, Premier and Ministers. I'll join the Premier in saying a huge thank you for the Travel Cayman team. We're going back, reminiscing that when they first started, we had little knowledge about the virus. We had no vaccines, and they were working on the front lines throughout all of that as we transitioned through our various stages of lockdown and reopening. So huge thank you for that. Travel Cayman grew to a staff of over 120 at the highest point. Over the last few months, we've been losing some staff due to natural attrition, going on to full-time employment elsewhere, moving on to other opportunities. So the total staff now are 87. Just about 30% of those are on secondments with other government agencies as we reduce the staff numbers in office in response to the changes in the public health regulations. So we are now actively working to place the remaining staff members on secondment opportunities with the hopes that they'll continue on with long-term employment within other government agencies and maybe even within the private sector. The agencies that have received the Travel Cayman teams, love them. They are polished with customer service. They have technology skills that are really transferable, and we look forward to having them gainfully employed elsewhere as we now transition to this fully reopened stage.
So does that timeline for the reassignment of the staff and career planning, is that going to be from next week Wednesday, or are you giving them a kind of grace period before?
So the current contracts are through to the end of September. If there are additional need within government, which we are in talks with agencies, including the DG and the Deputy Premier, if there are needs within government for their resources, then we'll go back and ask for funding from the folks at the head of the table there in relation to keeping them on through the year end in a view of transitioning them into long-term positions.
Okay, so in terms of how CBC is preparing, because of course, like the panel said, we can expect additional arrivals following this announcement. I can hear the keyboards now, people typing, looking for flights. So what's the plan for CBC to ensure that we have a smooth transition from the airport and onto the island?
So the removal of the travel declaration, the travel request process would be welcomed by the CBC officers, so that they'll stop those additional checks that they were doing. I'm happy to say that as of last week, the number of kiosks at the airport increased, doubled. So we're now up to 20. Those are now being tested that we're in what is usually our low season. Our arrival numbers for last month was 47,000. So international travelers. So that's quite a lot coming in. But those kiosks are envisioned to be a force multiplier for us with the CBC officers. And we're gearing up then for the high season, not just on arrivals, but also on imports. We're looking forward to that as well. There is a current batch of CBC officers in training, and it's perfect timing for them to transition into roles on the front lines as we hit our stride for high season.
All right, so of course with the announcement of the relaxation of the vaccination status and the requirement for the proof of vaccination status, I know Premier, you said the changes don't relate to the work permit system, but is that something that is going to be considered by government, Mr. Howell or Premier, either one of you? Would that be any consideration for maybe later down the road to remove that requirement from the immigration transition law?
Yeah, it's not fair to ask the Chief Officer to respond on that. It is not something that we have considered at this point. Obviously, we are, as I said earlier, we are recognizing that the strategy that we employed in utilizing or relying on vaccinations has paid huge dividends for us as a country, and we, for the time being at the very least, intend to keep the vaccination provisions in place for people who are coming to our country to become long-term workers in the country. So I don't see that changing unless there's a significant change internationally in terms of the prevalence of COVID. So we'll see how that goes, and obviously we're going to rely on the advice of our Chief Medical Officer and the wider public health for anything that we do in this respect.
All right, thank you for that. I just have two more quick questions, if I could be allowed. And I'm not looking at Donna for that. But for the, in particular, with reference to the electricity assistance, I know, thank you, Mr. Howell, with the electricity assistance program that has been underway in government, through government and CUC, and of course with the opening of borders, we expect that things are going to start rolling for those in the tourism industry, but there are still those within the community that are struggling. Is government considering extending that electricity assistance program and the pension holiday as well?
I think when we let me start with the end first. When we extended the pension holiday, we did so until September on the basis that we thought that would be a reasonable period of time in terms of the overlap and the restart and the acceleration of our tourism growth. Obviously, financial services has been very strong throughout, so it was really tourism that needed the continued support. I think what the Minister has indicated is that even without this announcement today, without this decision today, we already have airlift capacity that has been anticipated and put on by the airlines, which actually exceeds the 2019 capacity. So that's a very positive indication. that our tourism product is very much in demand, and even with the current restrictions that don't expire until Wednesday, that capacity was anticipated. We did not indicate to them that we were going to lift to make any changes. So I think what that translates to for us is an even greater level of confidence that we are going to have an even better tourism experience and outcome over the high season and into the next year. And I think what that means overall is that the country is fast moving in the very positive direction, certainly in relation to those people who have been suffering from the blues that the lack of tourism has provided. Recognizing that it's really just been a year now, a little less than a year for us, where we've been moving into significant tourism growth and restarting that. We are going to wait and see how things go. At the moment, when we put the electricity relief program in place, it was designed to cover the 3 months that are the highest consumption months. Sorry? The hot months. Yeah, because they're typically the hottest months. And what this means for us is that we'll see how this goes. It may well be that the world economic situation makes some adjustments. The reality, as we have indicated, is that, and as everybody knows, is we import inflation. We don't generate it here from our own monetary policy or otherwise. And there is an indication that there is a turning down. There's a reduction in the rate of increase in inflation. So it may be that in 2 or 3 months' time, circumstances are significantly different. We have a reduction or perhaps even a elimination of the rate of increase in inflation. And at the same time, we've got rapidly accelerating opportunities and income and people coming in. So we've got even better economic growth on the horizon. I think the last percentage that we reported on was the end of last year, which was it was at 1.8 then % economic growth for the country. I expect that to be higher at the next opportunity that it is reported, and with the kinds of indications that those metrics in terms of airlift indicate to us, and recognizing that the financial services industry is still strong, we don't anticipate anything but upward movement in terms of our economic growth. So that represents opportunities for our people, and if we can get the benefit of inflation getting under control internationally, then I think that puts us in a better position. So we're going to wait and see how it goes, and we very much hope that the best circumstances evolve, which help our people. But our jobs and our interest is to make sure that we do whatever we can to help people, to make their lives better, and to address issues that are of significant concern to them.
So, no, it's going to stay.
No, I'm saying
we're going to stay.
We are going to, as it is now, it will remain. That's going to be the position, but we will keep it under review.
Okay.
These are things that we have been working on. The current relief program, we were working on that from about 2 or 3 months ago, working with CUC and with Cayman Brac Power and Light, and they have been extremely helpful to us in facilitating this. So we've been very, very forward-looking in how we can help our people. At this point, we'll wait and see how the next couple of months look, and then if something is required, if some movement or action is required, then we'll consider that. Specifically on the pensions point, honestly, we have put a big dent in private pensions. And it is time for us to seriously consider how we move forward with that. And we don't want to start by just continuing to extend that holiday. Honestly, things have got to start to get back to normal. People have got to start to rebuild their pension accounts.
All right, thank you so much, Premier. I just have one question for the CMO, and that's it, please. This one is very important, trust me.
Trust you.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'll leave some for Wendy. Sorry, Dr. Newton, just one quick question. We've seen that the Moderna vaccine has been approved, and that particular vaccine has proven effective against the variants. Will that be available in Cayman, and how soon?
Okay, so the studies which have just been concluded in the UK mostly, that's what I'm reporting on, do demonstrate that the bivalent Moderna vaccine, which has got the original Wuhan strain plus the BA1, I think, they so used as a booster, they have a slightly better effectiveness against the in terms of protection from the severe disease and from death. Having said that, also the original Pfizer and the AstraZeneca are effective. But yes, the Moderna seems to have a bit of an advantage in that sense against this circulating Omicron variant. We are waiting for the next delivery of the vaccine from the UK government. We are always very, very grateful about that. And we have just been told that we can have the Moderna alongside the Pfizer as if we wish so. We just have to take, how much we need of this or how much we need of that. Bearing in mind the Moderna will be recommended as a booster for the 18 onwards, and we will probably target the fourth dose for the over 50s and at-risk group. So yes, we should be receiving some Moderna alongside the Pfizer, which is still recommended for people for their first and second dose, for primary vaccination, and the pediatric Pfizer is the one recommended for the booster in the children.
Thank you so much, Dr. Newton. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, I'm going to call now on Wendy from Cayman News Service. I believe she has some questions first for Dr. Newton.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Wendy.
Just very quickly, just to clarify, so it will make more sense for the actual question. Is reporting still mandatory?
Reporting of positive. Okay, let me explain. If you have symptoms, you are strongly encouraged to do an LFT. If the LFT comes up positive, please do report to the public health team at HSA so that a free PCR test is going to be made available to you to confirm that you are a case. And this because, remember, the COVID is a notifiable disease, and this is enshrined in law.
Right, so it is still, we are still supposed to report, because obviously the numbers have fallen dramatically of people that are actually formally reporting. So what I wanted to know was, because you all spoke about the data and monitoring it and everything, given the decline in the actual reporting, because people are obviously self-isolating, not bothering to report, not taking a PCR test, doing whatever. I'm not suggesting everybody's running around sneezing on each other, but that there is some, so they're not. So in order for us to get the information and the data, have you got any other tools? Like I know some countries, they test like the sewage, like to find out what the levels are. So how are we going to know if there's a lot more disease in the community than is being reported?
Okay, so what we continue to do is still some programs of screening in specific settings which are most at risk, like, for example, the hospitals, or care homes. So where you still continue to test on a regular basis. In addition to that, we are trying to strengthen our system of surveillance, sentinel surveillance of respiratory viruses, which is very relevant, especially now that we're going towards at the end of the summer season, and we go through autumn. So those are sentinel places where people will report. So some GP practices and plus the accident and emergency, etc., where people will report to you on a regular basis and say, we have seen so many cases of people who have new respiratory symptoms this week. And then a subgroup of that will be tested. Will be tested not just for COVID, but also for other viruses. And this is the way you keep your information going. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on. Minister for Happiness.
That's a good title. I like that. Minister for
Exactly,
Happiness.
yeah. So, floating piers.
Yes.
I don't know if you read the BED report, but they also spoke about it requires dredging. So did you chat with the Minister for Sustainable Development? Because it requires dredging the ocean.
Well, we haven't had a conversation to answer your question. I think that maybe your question is coming from my recent report, travels to Jamaica. And during that travels, it was not an intention to visit the Port Royal of Jamaica. But since the opportunity was there, we went to check it out. With what I saw, I was pleased with it. It didn't look like there was much environmental impact as per some environmental impacts you see with coastal works today. Obviously, I know this is a very sensitive area, but as Minister for Tourism, it's my obligation to look at all opportunities available for improvements to our cruise tourism product and value customers, but ensuring that whatever is investigated or I bring back to my team for consideration have the full analysis, hence the reason it's not been brought to caucus yet. Actually, we haven't had a caucus since my travels to Jamaica for us to have the discussion. I've asked my team to give me the full report on any investigations into the floating dock from the past administration so I can fully understand. From just preliminary discussions with the Director of Port Authority in Jamaica, it seemed minimal. Now, any kind of development on a coastline is going to have some effect, but I think it'd be unfair to compare it to what was being suggested before. Even if you were to have a floating buoy to have an anchored weight, there was going to be some level of impact on the environment. But I want the public to know that I am mindful of what the public's view is on the environment, particularly as a Minister of Tourism and how important that is, our environment is to our stakeholders who come here. But there's no reason to believe that anything is imminent. My job is to do my due diligence to investigate. There could be some new technology or engineering that could be presented that comes up tomorrow. My job as Minister to investigate. Now, if I find that it's too sensitive for the government's policy in respect to sustainability, and obviously I would speak to the Honourable Premier about that because he leads the charge in that area. And if collectively as a group we see that that's not what the people of the Cayman Islands want, then we're not going to go down that route. I think we should probably not overreact from my visit from a floating dock to suggest anything other than an investigation. And if anything comes from it, you'll hear it from our Honourable Premier in respect to the government's position.
Is there any pressure coming to you from the cruise lines? Because they've always put pressure on tourism.
At the last, Minister, you put pressure on, sweetheart. I can promise you that.
No, but I mean, are they
no,
still
no,
going,
there
no,
is
we'd love up here?
no, there isn't none.
No, okay.
As a matter of fact, one of the first things that I did as minister in my meets with the Florida Caribbean Cruise Line Association, which the members are amazing, but I know that they have their own bias, they have their own goals and intentions, but we have been sent here by the good people of the Cayman Islands, particularly when on the topic of the environment and the protection of it, that should be our main focus. So I've made that clear from the outset that please don't bring that conversation up because it doesn't, the response may not be what you expect it to be. So they know that, but if there is engineering or options available for us to give our passengers, our customers that come here, a better experience, my job is to investigate, but that doesn't mean that we're going to go down that route if the findings are that they are damaging. So I think that would be the best place to leave that one.
Okay, just one more thing, because it's still a long thing, and we're coming up to the high season for cruising. Obviously, the thing that you've talked about as a government is quality over quantity.
Yes.
So where are you with that, with those thoughts about how we're going to reduce the numbers and increase the high spend, if you like?
Well, this is probably the first time you're going to hear this from me, but as Minister of Tourism and understanding the industry a lot better than I did before, and understanding the stakeholders and how many Caymanians are in the business, it is important that whatever changes we make as a government, and me as minister and suggestion to my colleagues as government, don't have any negative impacts on Caymanian opportunities. So I know there is a position to reduce cruise tourism numbers, and naturally that offers the basic concept or viewpoint of what sustainability is, meaning less people in the various different environmental attractions that we have, like our beaches, like Stingray City, and so forth. But with any reduction in numbers, the economy surrounding the industry is built based upon the numbers that were available at the last given time in 2019. So if you reduce those numbers, somebody's going to negatively be affected. And that's not what we want. What we want to do is to ensure that the services and the enjoyment of our environment is good for the consumer, but also not negatively impact, a negative impact on the environment. So can we accomplish that goal without the negative of a reduction? So as we assessed it as minister, and this is my preliminary assessment, but I want more details before I call this position, but as we assess the situation, one of the problems that we have is the disbursement of the numbers that we have. So for example, if you have 500 people at Stingray City, and that's too much right now, rather than saying, let's take 100 person visiting per day off, which is 20%, which causes a Caymanian from losing business, how about we diversify our tourism product and carry those extra 100 people somewhere else so it doesn't have a devastation on the environment of the Stingray City product, but at the same time, a Caymanian can make money. So right now, I've asked my team to say, what can we do to diversify our products better? And unfortunately, this information was not available to me before, because what I would have asked for is my colleagues to support me with a special fund of offering funding to entrepreneurs who want to try different products out in the eastern districts. So if we spread the business of what the numbers that we do have now across the island, it'll have a less impact on the environment and the experience. And that's what I'm trying to get at. But I won't be able to get or request those fundings probably until the next available budget, which won't come into effect until the first day of January 2024. So the good news, though, is that the cruise tourism is not back to where it once was in respect to numbers and pressures on the products that they use, whether that be the beaches or Stingray City or any other place. So that has a negative impact from monies that we get, but it also gives a still breathing space for those environmental negative impacts that we were worried about until we find better solutions of diversification and spreading those numbers out. So ideally, I think there's going to be a little bit of a shift from minister to advise my colleagues about a reduction in numbers, still focusing on the quality, but not trying to reduce the numbers if we can find a better solution by pushing them in different areas and spreading the visitor numbers across the islands to have a lesser impact on the environment and traffic. Okay. Hopefully, I know that was a lot, and I know you wasn't expecting that, but that's the truth of the situation.
Yeah. People are not going to be happy, but it's not outrageous. They're going to go mental.
Well, Wendy, can I just add to that? I mean, I think in terms of the discussion, which I didn't hear the comments made in terms of the floating pier, but obviously I was in government in the past when this was an issue that was discussed and looked at in more detail. So I probably have more knowledge about this issue. But my colleague traveled to Jamaica, observed this facility there, and I took the comments that were, as I said, I didn't really hear them, but I took them just as an observation, perhaps, and speculation based on that observation. Perhaps curiosity. I mean, I would put it at that. I mean, we haven't had the chance to have a conversation about it because I have been traveling as well, and so that's I put this no higher than that, and I think I at least have a very good understanding of what's involved with that. And yes, it's not as simple as it seems, and yes, from my perspective and what I learned over the years in my past role. Having that sort of facility in a harbor, which is open to the open ocean, it doesn't work very well. That aside, I wanted to just comment in relation to the approach with tourism. The minister has very clearly indicated that we are not at the stage of even coming close to the types of numbers that we had in the past. And I think a couple of things need to be reflected on. One is that we definitely do want to look at getting better value from cruise tourism, and that may in itself translate into lower numbers. But what we're talking about in concept in terms of lower numbers relates to what we experienced in 2019 and perhaps 2018, but also importantly what was projected as the desired numbers for the previously considered cruise port, which was somewhere in the region of about 2.4 million people.
Correct.
So there's a big difference between saying, we could live with 1.7 million visitors a year and get better value from that and offer better experience, and saying we're aiming for 2.4 million people. That's absolutely not our objective at all.
Okay, so next week is going to be a big week for tourism. We've got a hoop-de-doo thing going on, foreign dignitaries coming. And we would normally have Miss Cayman Islands Miss Universe at the event. And I see that there's been no giving away the scholarships or the car or anything. Have you been consulted about the situation with the pageant queen? Because I understand it is a Ministry of Tourism thing and you give money to it. It's very controversial. Are you doing anything about that?
Thank you for the question, Wendy. And this is the first time publicly we've had the opportunity to talk about it. Since the crowning of Miss Cayman, I want to firstly say congratulations to the winner and to all the contestants who bravely took part in the pageant. It's not an easy task to be in the public domain, and as a politician, I know the experience. But I've just gotten an opportunity to speak with the committee and my ministry reps just yesterday to talk about the many concerns that have been raised. So I'm doing an assessment through my ministry and have further information to release to the public later on. But I want the public to know that I recognize the various number of concerns that have been highlighted. It is a delicate situation, but we'll have more information hopefully sometime next week for the public to share.
Talking about that conference, is there any reason why our own Civil Aviation Authority isn't listed to speak or take part?
No other reason than the dates of travel for the senior individual at CAA unfortunately had to go to another conference at the same time, and I am not the controlling decision maker as to the date, as it's a collaboration with the Cayman Islands government through the Ministry of Tourism the Caribbean Tourism Organization, which is members by all the Caribbean ministers, and IATA. So unfortunately, we wanted our reps, the senior reps from CAA to be the panelist discussions, but they had some other important regulatory conferences to go to in order to keep our airports open. But we do have some other panelists that will be taking that space to discuss anything in respect to the aviation matters for the Cayman Islands. But no intended reason to leave them out at all.
I was just curious. It just seemed odd. That was all.
Wendy, if we could take one more question.
Okay.
We really need to wrap it
I
up.
had one for age for the first time for the health minister, and now I can't ask it. Sorry. It's another
Next time.
I've got just one final. It's kind of for both of you. It's another one. I'm sorry. You
It's
should
okay, man.
never have gone on that Radio Game On program. Developing, I can barely get it out. Developing in the central mangrove wetlands. You and the Minister for Finance spoke about that quite significantly, especially the big issue that environmentalists are really concerned about, which is that the road, not so much the road per se, I mean, obviously that's one thing in itself, but it's the access that it will give to this pristine, beautiful, critically important habitat. And you spoke quite clearly about you want to see people develop in there. I would imagine that the Ministry of Sustainability might not see it the same way, so I'm just wondering how you're going to be.
Well, I'll respond by saying this. We haven't had detailed discussions in respect to that, as it falls under the Minister for Roads. We also know that the Honourable Premier is in charge of the Department of Environment and Sustainability. I want us to also recognize that this is a government of independent members and independent thinking, one that we embrace, and I think that's why when anything that we announce comes out, it's so refined by robust discussion and conclusion that there's no automatic position on the matter. The road, East-West Arterial, is very important to many of the other issues that is facing this country, particularly that of housing and transportation. And personally, I believe that the road is important to being able to offer more land accessibility to the people of the Cayman Islands, for the future development of our country in many different ways. But what I don't want to get lost in this, Wendy, is, and I think this is a fault of probably myself and us as a government, is to understand that sustainability and protection of the environment does not have to stop the progression and progress and growth of, say, for instance, an East-West Arterial, which we all know is important from many other factors like emergency access across the island. It's something that has been in the works for some time. So can we get this road done, and will we get this road done in a sustainable, environmentally friendly way? Yes. But it has to be done, and we have to balance this discussion and not see it as anti the environment or pro-protection, where nothing pristine can't be touched. There's many engineering, there's so many smart people across the world who are working every day to come up with solutions to be able to allow these things to happen, but at the same time protect our environment. This is a government, this is the most protective government you will ever find in our political history, that wants to protect the environment. But we do have some important matters that we have to address on behalf of the people that we were elected to serve. In housing and traffic and transportation is some key ones in our top 5. So we have to find that balance, and we got to do it quickly. We got 2 years and odd left, and it's one that we talk about quite often, and we're almost there in finding that best balance, hence the reason you see that there's a EIA out right now. It's something that all the elected members from the Eastern Districts is passionate about. I am from Georgetown. Most of my constituents are not troubled by the transport problem, but they are affected by the housing availability problem. And I do believe that East-West Arterial will offer up many options by improving or increasing the number of land availability, which is supply and demand concept. If you allow more land to become available, then the housing costs, I believe, will eventually go down. But that's my personal position. But I just want to recognize the difficulties and the delicacy of this conversation, but it's one that we have to deal with because it's important to a lot of people from different angles.
So you're comfortable with the development in the central mangrove wetlands then?
Let me answer for him. From my perspective, your suggestion in terms of what you imagine is correct. But this, I don't want to step on his toes, but the reality is that the road, and I do support getting the road done, but not for the reasons that you might think, and not for the reasons that some people might contemplate in terms of, particularly in terms of developing the central mangrove wetland. There is, the major factor is providing better access to the eastern districts, East End and North Side in particular, and providing that key route which is not subject to storm damage, not subject to road traffic accidents that may block off the road, and the access to the eastern districts for a lot of people. I've said in the past that I have experienced that myself, where I have been, I've had to go and stay somewhere else for 6 hours while a road traffic accident was being dealt with. But that road does not translate necessarily at all to meaning that that everything to the north of it, which is the central mangrove wetland, gets developed.
Great.
What it does do is it does make certain other developments on the south side of the road and particularly in the Frankstown area, perhaps a bit more feasible and accessible, because it provides easier access from that area into the western side of the island. But from my perspective, this is not a question of developing the central mangrove wetland areas. Obviously, some of that land is privately owned, and it is possible that someone could build a road and make an application. And we'll have to consider that. We'd have to deal with it. We'd probably have to end up having environmental impact assessments. But there's one thing that I think that we do need to reflect on, and that is, and it is occurring more and more, and I have certainly had the benefit of spending time with colleagues, leaders of other Caribbean countries and nations, who have a very similar view to mine as well, which is that particularly sensitive land and mangrove forested areas do not just have a monetary development value. And in fact, it is not just the typical sort of existential value to the country in terms of all the environmental benefits it provides. They actually have intrinsic value that other countries, other businesses around the world would actually pay to leave the land in its current state. So one of the very interesting things that is basically sweeping the Caribbean right now, and as you know, we have Prime Minister Motley in Barbados, who's a very strong advocate for the environment, very strong advocate for adaptation and sustainability, and also recognizes the benefits of carbon trading that we in the Caribbean have available to us. And the minister from the Bahamas, Prime Minister from the Bahamas, has just recently rolled out legislation which puts in place a platform for their blue carbon trading, which is seagrass, the value of seagrass beds. But they also have mangrove, and there is a clear recognition that has significant benefits, both in terms of our ecology and environment, but also that value that can be traded in terms of its ability to absorb carbon that other countries don't have. Seagrass, both mangrove forests and seagrass beds have orders of magnitude greater capacity to absorb carbon dioxide and store that than even rainforests do. So one of the very interesting things, and it's rapidly evolving, is that a lot of our land and a lot of our seagrass beds have inherent value being left alone in their current state, and they can generate income. They can generate income for people. So it's no longer just a question of what may have existed in the past, that someone has land that's mangrove forests, and in the past they may have thought of it as swamp land that they couldn't do anything with. Of course, we also have one challenge, that if you're going to develop that, you're going to have to fill it. That's another significant challenge. But there is a reality today that that land has a significant value being left in its original state, where it is you don't have to sell the land to gain value from it. You can sell the services that the land or the mangrove forest or the seagrass beds provide. You can sell those services, and there are companies and countries that will buy those services and create income, and thereby create value for that land, which is beyond what I would typically refer to as the existential value, which is the value that it provides to our country and our planet in generating the oxygen and doing the things that it does, which originally enabled mankind to develop and grow.
Thank you.
But just before we close off that, Wendy, because I'm not sure if you're going to have another question to answer, but as within my growth as a representative and a minister, there's things that you learn and you grow with. And I am a Caymanian, and I have a part of my culture to say terms that may not necessarily be in agreement with everybody. And I inadvertently called you sweetheart earlier, apparently, and I've gotten many comments about that. So I do apologize, Ms. Ledger, and I will refer to you in every setting from now on as Ms. Ledger. And it's just a matter of my cultural norms. And for anybody who feels uncomfortable with that, I will not say it again. Thank you.
Ms. Wendy, thank you.
Thank you.
Any final words from our panelists?
I just want to thank my colleagues for joining me here this afternoon. Obviously, this represents very good news for the country, for our tourism product as well, and for our everyday convenience as Caymanians, because we're all subject to the same thing. And I have to fill out travel forms just like whenever we travel, we have to fill out the travel forms just like everybody else. So to get back to a sense of normalcy, of things being the way they were, is a good feeling. But as I said earlier, we must remain cognizant, and as Minister has noted, we must remain cognizant of the risks, and we should manage ourselves in a way that we protect ourselves. I want to say, and I said it during during my presentation, but the Cayman Islands is an absolutely wonderful country, and let me tell you, if people think that we have insurmountable problems or problems that make life very, very unbearable, I think they just haven't traveled enough. Mm-hmm. There are many, many other countries in the world that would love to have what we have. And I want to say that this country is one of the best managed countries, and it is still one of the, despite whatever problems we have, it is still one of the best countries to live, to work, to invest in, and just enjoy life. So with that, I want to say thank you very much.
Donna, I do have a few short comments. I'm going to steal your time to say happy birthday to Mr. Noel Williams, who is the chairman of the Liquor Licensing Board, Ms. Dorothy Bush, who is a representative of Georgetown North, Ms. Suzette Nelson, who is one of my constituents, and Ms. Joyce Ann Green, which is one of the constituents for the Honorable Minister of Health and Wellness. Also, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Chief Medical Officer for her guidance and assistance to this journey of dealing with COVID. It's not an easy task for advisors as well as government members to come to the best conclusions from an economic and health perspective for the people. And like the Premier said, this may be one of the last public press conferences about changes, because we're almost there, and hopefully nothing conspires against us and God continues to bless us. We won't need to have another press conference. So I just want to thank her for all of her assistance for this government. And lastly, as the Premier has just said, we got so much to be grateful for. And I think it's this time we should take an opportunity to thank God for the many blessings that we have. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. Mr. Turner?
One of the great things of being the last person to speak is that I say, as the Minister of Health, very little, but a lot more to come now that this is, and I hope and pray that this will be the final COVID press briefing, so that all that we have in store to roll out non-COVID related will be coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Thank you again to my ministerial team, and definitely for the partnerships that we have forged in making our jurisdiction the safest place to be, for us to be at this juncture today, here and definitely abroad, which has yielded in us being able to retain some of the best knowledge and skill sets around the world. I give God thanks, and I thank people for trusting me in this ministry.
Okay. As always, thank you to you, the public, and as well as to the media, and to everyone here today, particularly our panelists who have shared some very important information with us. Remember, you can watch this entire press briefing on the Cayman Islands Government's YouTube channel on demand. Until next time, have a great weekend, everyone.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
Light to moderate winds and slight seas are expected over the next 24 hours due to a weak pressure gradient across the Cayman area. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving west. Partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and possible thunder are likely, while temperatures will rise to the low 90s. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Finland's Prime Minister has said she has taken a drug test after new footage emerged showing the leader dancing with a Finnish pop star. 36-year-old Sanna Martin came under fire this week after a leaked video showed her partying with some politicians, saying she should be tested for narcotics. At a news conference today, Ms. Martin said she had taken the test and expects the results next week. The Prime Minister repeated her denials that she has ever taken drugs. And a Chinese-Canadian billionaire has been sentenced to 13 years in prison in China and his company fined more than $8 billion. Chow Chin-hua and his company Tomorrow Holdings were charged with embezzlement and bribery, a court in Shanghai said. Chow, one of China's most richest people, was last seen being whisked away from a luxury hotel in Hong Kong in 2017. There had been no official word from him since, until the Canadian embassy said in July he would be facing trial. The trial was said to have started on July 4th. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Elevate. Never settle. Achieve what you desire.
Leave your past in the past. Unlock your future potential. The keys are at the University of the West Indies. From coding and smart app development, protocol, diplomacy, HR management, and conversational Spanish.
Your path to all you desire starts at UWI.
The University of the West Indies Open Campus offers custom-built programs matching your current education level with the qualifications you need to find your place in the Cayman Dream. Visit the University of the West Indies at open.ue.edu or call them today at 946-8322.
The Cayman Islands Health Services Authority's general practice and public health clinics have relocated to Smith Road Medical Center. At the new location, you'll receive top quality care in a comfortable, modern space, enhancing your patient experience. Do you have flu-like symptoms or other non-emergent illnesses or injury? HSA's new urgent care walk-in clinic is now open at the main hospital campus. The new general practice location is for appointments only. For more information, call 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky.
Coming up this Friday night, August 19th, the South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers for the 4th annual Cayman Night. Live entertainment will be by a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band. You don't want to miss this exciting fete, playing soca, calypso, merengue, country, soul, and reggae music. Live with a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band and DJ Archie from Unit Force Disco. Admission is by donations at the door. Music starts 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. this Friday, August 19th at South Coast Bar and Grill. Proceeds will be donated to all primary schools to assist with the purchase of music